Chapter 737. When Yi Tianyan wanted to leave, they all knelt down and begged him not to leave. They had witnessed Yi Tianyan's powerful talent and ability, and he could even repair the inheritance stone tablet. Their admiration for him was like a torrential river. They felt that it was a good choice to let Yi Tianyan lead them. In this world, strength was always respected. Especially when Yi Tianyan was one of them, there was no need to reject him. After witnessing it, they came to their senses and knew who was right and who was wrong. Their impression of Yi Tianyan increased exponentially. Yes, they all hope that you can stay. Suo Kaifeng's eyes flickered. In his heart, he definitely hoped that Yi Tianyan could stay. He had seen Yi Tianyan's strength and knew that Yi Tianyan could stand alone and withstand a lot of pressure. If Yi Tianyan left, he wouldn't be able to stay here all the time. He didn't ask Yi Tianyan to expand his territory. At the very least, he had to stay here and not force his way in even if a strong enemy came to invade. Just when Yi Yuanlong wanted to say something, Zhao Lingyi shook her head and signaled him not to say anything. Without a doubt, Yi Yuanlong would definitely persuade Yi Tianyan to stay. It wasn't easy for them to reunite with their family. It would be a pity if they left just like that. However, Zhao Lingyi knew that Yi Tianyan had his own things to do. His child had grown up and he couldn't always stay by her side. Being able to reunite with his family was already something to be happy about. Shi Shuiyan stood at the side and didn't say a word. She maintained a smile on her face. She knew what Yi Tianyan would choose. He knew whether to stay or leave. Thank you all for asking me to stay, but I still have many things to do. Not only do I have to manage my faction, but more importantly, there is a crisis coming. I have to stand up and handle some things. Yi Tianyan resolutely refused, causing everyone's eyes to darken. It seemed that they had no way of persuading Yi Tianyan to stay, and they were filled with regret. They always felt that they were the ones who caused this, and all of them mocked Yi Tianyan for not welcoming him. There was no point in regretting now. But don't worry, I'll be back. If there's any danger here, I'll come back immediately to help. Yi Tianyan was right. The main reason was because his parents were here, and he respected the King of the Heavens even more. Most of the people's lives had nothing to do with him, but his family was here, and that alone was enough. Everyone nodded. They could only nod in agreement. Other than that, there was nothing else they could do to persuade him. They could hear the determination in Yi Tianyan's voice, so they could only give up. Immediately, Suo Kaifeng brought Yi Tianyan and the others to the main hall. The other disciples could only go back, but they would definitely spread the news. At that time, Yi Tianyan's reputation would definitely improve greatly. After they entered the main hall, Yi Tianyan roughly explained the situation, which deeply shocked them. They didn't expect that the 10 stars in the sky were actually 10 divine weapons. Of course, this wasn't a secret. Anyway, 10 divine weapons, no one could take them away, including him. They were fixed there, and unless their cultivation was very strong, they really couldn't take them away. So that's how it is. I thought it was really the power of the stars, so it's the divine weapons. Only then did everyone understand. The flashing light in the sky, everyone thought it was the power of the stars. Now it seemed that it was the power of the divine weapons. If these divine weapons were taken away, then they really wouldn't be able to borrow the power of this place. Yes, the situation isn't that optimistic now. I have to go check on the other divine weapons. Otherwise, when the demons come out, we won't have the power to suppress them. Yi Tianyan said. Everyone nodded, then shook their heads. They didn't expect such a heavy responsibility to be shouldered by a young man. On the other hand, they couldn't do it at all. Child, it's been hard on you. That was all they could say. Among them, Zhao Lingyi revealed a worried look. If you can't take it, come to Mother and rest. Mother doesn't ask for you to protect the 3 realms. I just hope that you can be safe. Zhao Lingyi walked over and grabbed Yi Tianyan's hand. Her eyes were red. She knew what kind of terrifying power Yi Tianyan was facing, but he had to bear such pressure at such a young age. The greater the power, the greater the responsibility. Protecting the 3 realms has never been my goal. I only want to protect you, and more importantly, I want to protect the people I love. Yi Tianyan looked at Shi Shuiyan and felt his heart warm. To put it more selfishly, Most of the lives and deaths had nothing to do with him. He wasn't a savior. He was just saving others while saving his loved ones. Sai, as a father, I can't help much. Yi Xingchen and the others were very frustrated. Elders should bear more responsibility, but they realized that they didn't even have the right. The difference in power was too great. They couldn't help at all. If you can stabilize the Fengtian divine kingdom and gather more power, that would be the best help. Yi Tianyan said solemnly. If the demons come, I can't take care of them all by myself. From the memories he obtained from the King of the Heavens, he knew that there would be many demons attacking, and there would be quite a number of them. Moreover, there were some who had taken root here. He didn't know if there were still any. Trouble from within, and without was the most terrifying situation. No problem, we will take care of that. If those demons come, we will definitely do our best to deal with them. They nodded. Putting aside everything else, they had gained a lot of experience from the bloody battles. It's about time. I should return to the mortal world. Yi Tianyan nodded. He had stayed here long enough. It was time to return to the mortal world. Just as they were about to leave, someone suddenly rushed in from outside. Clan leader. The guard was sweating profusely, his face full of fear. Didn't we agree not to come in if there's nothing important? What's going on? Suo Kaifeng frowned. They were still in the middle of a discussion when someone suddenly barged in. They must be unhappy. The army is attacking. It seems that 7 or 8 experts from the god nations have gathered and are ready to attack us. The guard said anxiously. They are almost at the door. They are ready to fight. What? Their faces changed. They didn't expect that at this time, so many god nations would suddenly attack. It was really shocking. Why would they suddenly attack so wantonly? Are they crazy? Suo Kaifeng said. I think it's because of the 10 stars. It made them think that a peerless genius has appeared. If we continue to develop, not to mention getting weaker, we will only get stronger. They have been eyeing our inheritance for a long time. How can they let it go? Yuanlong said. After Yi Tianyan heard this, he didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed. A bunch of vermin. It seems like they have forgotten who protected the heaven realm in the past. Since that's the case, I will suppress them and awaken their old ancestors' memory. I will know which faction the king of the heaven realm belongs to. His eyes flickered. He definitely wouldn't show mercy to these people. Since they sent themselves to him, he wouldn't hesitate to accept them. This was a huge pile of experience. The opportunity to level up had come again. And it was a crazy leveling up. Chapter 738. Yi Tianyan hates maggots the most in his life. They do nothing but swarm over when they see something good. He doesn't believe that none of the old ancestors in the god nations know about the demon invasion. The demon invasion was the darkness of the 3 realms. Everyone knew about it and fought back. Among them, the king of the heavens was the main force in the heaven realm. He led many experts to fight back the demon invasion. At that time, there must have been a lot of old ancestors who survived. They were either alive or dead now. But even if they are dead, there should be some records, right? Now that many god nations have surrounded them, there are some god nations that are at the top. Those that can be at the top are definitely not weak. They must have powerful old ancestors or have the inheritance of old ancestors. For these ancestors to be able to survive, it was largely due to the protection of the 3 great divine kings that they were able to survive. One must know that when the demon invasion, most of the powers in the 3 realms were overthrown. Those that survived were the elites of the elites. It is not surprising that they were able to establish a huge god nation. Now the power they established is used to fight against Fengtian god nation. It is really ironic. This is like a hero who saved a group of people. After a few years, the hero died. The rest of the people started to attack the descendants of the hero. They want to take all the good things from the descendants of the hero. These people deserve to die 10,000 times. They deserve to be despised. Now there are 7 or 8 god nations that are like this. They actually launched a big attack, causing the people of Fengtian god nation to be extremely angry. Even Yi Tianyan is angry. The life and death of the disciples here has nothing to do with him. But he made so many contributions to King of the Heavens, but in the end, others repaid his kindness with enmity. Just thinking about it makes him angry. Yi Tianyan, Suo Kaifeng and the others flew away. But only a few people can fly. Only elder-level existences can fly here. They can only fly here because they have flight tokens. But these flight tokens are too rare. There are not more than 10 of them. It is very difficult to make them. Yi Tianyan brought Shi Shuiyun and flew out. When Suo Kaifeng and the others saw this, they were shocked. Yi Tianyan didn't have a flight pass, so how could he fly? But then again it made sense. Yi Tianyan had received the legacy of the King of the Heavens. It was normal for him to be able to fly here. When he arrived outside the city wall, he saw a large group of experts with terrifying cultivations walking towards him on foot. Their cultivations were very strong, but they were still suppressed here, unable to fly. This was the terror of the King of the Heavens. Anyone below the God-King realm was nothing but an ant. Under the powerful formation, no one could escape from this terrifying suppression. Unless his cultivation base broke through to the God-King stage. Even if he was at the Saint King stage, he would still be suppressed. However, for very powerful Saint Kings, the suppressive effect would be weakened. Although they would not be able to fly as they wished, it would not be a problem for them to fly for a short distance. It seems that there are a lot of divine nations who are interested in the Fengtian divine nation. So many experts have been dispatched. Yi Tianyan glanced at the front. There were more than a dozen Saint King stage experts, and a lot of Spirit King stage experts. Basically, every divine nation had dispatched a considerable amount of forces. Not to mention that they didn't bring all of their forces, but at least more than half of them. Although they came here as an alliance, they couldn't take it lightly. They couldn't bring too many weak people. If the divine nations counterattacked, they would be finished. No matter how many people come, it's still experience. Yi Tianyan sneered. In this situation, the more the better. He didn't mind killing some scums. Back in the Fengtian Divine Kingdom, he had been suppressing himself. He really wanted to get rid of the scum of the Fengtian Divine Kingdom in one go. This was especially so when he faced those two elders. He was too lazy to explain himself, and he just wanted to slap them to death. However, this place was his territory, and he wasn't a patriarch, so he couldn't kill them so decisively. Yi Tianyan put Shi Shuiyun on the edge of the city wall. And just as he landed, the guards next to him looked at him in shock. When they were about to say something, Suo Kaifeng waved his hand and signaled them to leave. Yes, Patriarch. The guards nodded and returned to their posts. They looked at Yi Tianyan from top to bottom. This was the first time they saw Yi Tianyan, so they were a little surprised. Those who could fly were definitely the inner elders, but they had never seen Yi Tianyan before. Suo Kaifeng said solemnly, "Friends of the divine nations, if you come to visit us, we will welcome you very much. But now, you have brought so many people. What do you want?" Suo Kaifeng wasn't as calm as Yi Tianyan. When he saw so many experts, he was a little worried. It was going to be difficult to deal with so many experts. This was the strength of the 8 divine nations. After counting, there were a total of 8 divine nations attacking. This was a rare sight. There were very few forces that could provoke so many divine nations. Either they provoked all the forces in the world, or they had a lot of resources. Otherwise, it was impossible for so many forces to besiege them. The Fengtian divine nation was obviously the latter. Treasuring a jade ring was a crime, but it didn't matter if they had protected the heavenly world in the past. So it's Patriarch Suo. Our purpose in coming here is simple. We saw a peerless genius that can light up 10 stars. This time, we're here to congratulate you. Aren't you going to invite us in? The leader of the group was the heavenly divine nation's ruler, Shi Hetian. He narrowed his eyes as he looked at the city wall. Even in the face of this terrifying defense, they had no intention of backing down. That's right, seeing a super genius appearing in your country, it would be hard to express our sincerity if we don't congratulate you. The blessed Buddha divine nation's ruler, Celestial Silkworm, said amiably, as if he was really here to congratulate them. Every one of them was beaming with joy, looking harmless to humans and animals. If Yi Tianyan really believed them, then he would have seen a ghost. If he really came to congratulate them, did he really need to bring so many experts? If they really opened the city gate and let them in, it would immediately cause chaos. If the Fengtian divine nation didn't rely on the spirit array to suppress them, it would really be destroyed. With so many Saint King stage and Spirit King stage experts, it was more than enough to crush them. A dozen Saint King stage experts and dozens of Spirit King stage experts. Just these numbers alone were enough to scare them to death. There's no need for that. We appreciate the goodwill of the various kings. If you want to come in as a guest, I hope you can come in alone. There is no need to bring the rest of your entourage. Suo Kaifeng said indifferently. I think the Fengtian divine nation is not as chaotic as other places, so there is no need to be so cautious. Yi Tianyan didn't point it out, he just wanted them to leave. Chapter 739. The rulers of the various divine nations exchanged glances and smiled. However, their smiles quickly disappeared and were replaced by cold sneers. All right, I won't beat around the bush. I'll give you two choices. Either you destroy your nation, or you hand over all your inheritances and kill the genius who activated the 10 stars. Celestial Silkworm's benevolent face suddenly revealed a malevolent expression. His previous benevolent expression was nowhere to be seen. He looked like a god of death. The other rulers also revealed the same malevolent expression. This was their original intention. Either they destroy their nation, hand over all their inheritances, or kill the 10-star genius. They didn't want a second king of the heavens to appear and suppress them. If that happened, they wouldn't have a chance to turn the situation around. Their only chance now was to attack. Even if they suffered some losses, they had to suppress the Fengtian divine nation. Suo Kaifeng's eyes were filled with anger. This was indeed their goal. Even though he had already guessed it, he was still incomparably angry when he heard them say it. The weak were prey to the strong. The point was that the Fengtian divine nation had protected this place for so long, but in the end, it was destroyed. It was truly a tragedy. What are you talking about? I'll say it here. Either we suffer some losses and destroy your entire Fengtian divine nation, or you lose a genius and hand over all your inheritances. Hurry up and make your choice. We don't have that much patience. Shi Hetian sneered and said, Don't think that your city gate can stop us. With so many experts, even if it's difficult to break through, it's not impossible. If you have the confidence, you can try. When the time comes, it won't be as simple as taking away the inheritances. The two of them were the representatives of the 8 divine nations. Their factions were the strongest, and their cultivation was also the highest. When the elders came over and heard these words, their hearts sank. They were furious to the extreme. It seems like you've been eyeing our inheritances for a long time. This time you've finally revealed your foxtail. Suo Kaifeng said coldly, What do you mean we've been eyeing your inheritances for a long time? You have so many inheritances. It won't kill us to contribute some. We're here with the attitude of learning. We want to learn from you and ask you to give us some legacies. Don't worry, we won't take it for free. When the time comes, we'll also give you some elixirs or martial arts in exchange. I guarantee that you'll be satisfied. Celestial Silkworm smiled evilly. It sounded so nice. When the time came, no one knew what kind of martial arts would be given. Maybe it would be the worst martial arts, or maybe it would be an ordinary 2nd or 3rd grade pill. They had already fought their way to the doorstep. If they wanted to exchange items for martial arts, they would have come here personally instead of bringing an army here. A bunch of maggots. They haven't done anything, but they're actually making a ruckus in the Fengtian divine kingdom. At this time, Yi Tianyan stepped forward and looked down at them. He said coldly, I don't know how many of you know, but if the Fengtian divine kingdom didn't deal with the demons, would you trash still be alive in this world? His words attracted the gazes of many people. 10,000 pairs of eyes stared at him. Someone actually dared to call them trash. Brat, we're talking to your tribe leader. Why are you interrupting us? Shi Hetian said unhappily. Tribe leader Suo, your disciples are a little too weak. Don't they know that elders can't casually interrupt? Suo Kaifeng didn't say a word. He didn't know what Yi Tianyan wanted to do, but he didn't refute him. I'm asking you now. If not for the Fengtian divine kingdom, you'd already be dead. If you know, I'll give you a chance. Get out of here. If you don't know, you can choose to go back and ask your ancestors how much the King of the Heavens sacrificed in exchange for peace. Now, not only are you not repaying the kindness, but you're also thinking about the legacies. You're simply a bunch of scum. You might as well save a dog. A dog can wag its tail at people. What about you? You're just a bunch of ingrates. After saving you, you bite back. What a waste of kindness. Etienne's words were very sharp and pierced straight into their hearts. Everyone looked at each other and burst into laughter. They didn't take him seriously at all. Brat, you're still too young. That's in the past. Now is the present. It has nothing to do with the past. Moreover, did we ask the King of the Heavens to save us? We didn't, right? That was because he wanted to kill that demon. It had nothing to do with us. Shirhatian said infuriatingly. The key was that after he said this, many of the country leaders laughed and agreed with him. They didn't have any intention of going back on their words. That's right. That's all in the past. If the King of the Heavens was still here, we would still show some respect. Now that the King of the Heavens isn't here, you still want us to listen to your orders? Don't be silly. The weak are prey to the strong. You guys are too weak now. I've been waiting for you guys to slowly decline. Who knew that a genius would appear? Brat, I have to say that you're quite arrogant. I want to add a condition. Other than the genius, your life is also included in it. The heavenly Silkworm Emperor was also unhappy with Etienne, but he didn't know that the person they wanted to kill was Etienne. Suo Kaifeng and the rest were angry. They didn't expect them to say such words. They had sacrificed so much and it was all eaten by a dog. No wonder the King of the Heavens said that he doesn't expect others to repay his kindness. It would be good enough if they don't offend us. Etienne shook his head. A cold killing intent surged in his eyes. Very well. Since that's the case, I'll replace the Heaven Bestowment Divine King, and kill all the invading enemies. I'll let you know that some dignity cannot be violated. No matter how many years pass, it's not something that trash like you can violate. Etienne's eyes turned cold. He took a step forward. He didn't fall down from the city wall. Instead, he walked forward step by step, walking in the air. When the country leaders below saw this, they were stunned. I didn't expect you to have a flying token. If not, you would have fallen down long ago. You dare to call us trash? Then you should die first. Celestial Silkworm threw out a beam of cold light that shot up to the sky. They couldn't fly, but attacking was not a problem. Die. Etienne's eyes turned cold. He grabbed the evil spirit divine sword in his hand and swung it at Celestial Silkworm. Buzz. An incomparably pitch-black beam of light pierced towards the Celestial Silkworm monarch. It had just been swung out when it rapidly expanded to 3 times its original size, slashing down like a pitch-black sickle. Celestial Silkworm Heavenly Emperor's face changed as he felt the terrifying power coming from Etienne's body. He wanted to avoid the attack, but with his speed, how could he compare to Etienne? Pucci. Under this swift and violent black light, Celestial Silkworm was immediately cut in half. Terrifying black flames madly engulfed his body and burned it. His screams resounded throughout the world. With a single sword strike, Celestial Silkworm, a 6th-layer Saint King stage 6th-layer Celestial Silkworm, was cut in half at the waist, shocking all the country leaders. What is this kid's background? Everyone had this thought in their hearts. At such a young age he was able to kill his opponent with a single sword strike. It seemed that he wasn't an old monster, but was really very young. How could he kill a country leader at such a young age? Chapter 740. While many of them were trying to guess who Etienne was, Etienne gave them the answer. He was a genius who could awaken 10 stars. The genius they wanted to kill was none other than the young man in front of them. With just one sword strike, the Celestial Silkworm was cut in half. This terrifying power made everyone dumbfounded, as if they had seen a ghost. How is this possible? Didn't he just go to test his bloodline power? How can his cultivation be so terrifying? They were all shocked. Usually, those who went to test their bloodline power were new disciples, such as newborn babies. They all thought that they would be testing their bloodline power on a baby, but they didn't expect that it would be a young man. There was only one possibility, and that was he had been outside for a long time and had just returned. Even though they had planted a lot of spies among them, none of them were able to get any information about Yi Tianyun's bloodline power. Save me! Save me! Celestial Silkworm didn't die under the sword strike, but he was still burning. His screams pulled them back from the shock. Some of them immediately tried to rescue him, but as soon as they got close to him, the Spirit King stage cultivator who was about to rescue him was set on fire. Ah! The Spirit King stage cultivator screamed in pain and kept waving his hands, trying to get rid of the flames. However, once the flames stuck to it, they would not disperse. Unless the area that was being burned was cut off, they would continue to climb up. Quick! Cut off the burning area. Someone saw that the flames couldn't be extinguished, so he immediately ordered someone to cut off the burning area, but it was too late. The flames had already burned half of the Spirit King stage cultivator's body, and if they wanted to cut it off, they would have to cut him in half. In just a few moments, a Spirit King stage cultivator was burned to death. On the other hand, the Celestial Silkworm country lord hadn't been burned to death, and was still holding on bitterly. It's not that the Heavenly Silkworm King's cultivation is high, but Yi Tianyun deliberately didn't want him to die so quickly. He wanted him to feel the pain first. He's dead. He's dead. A cultivator who was at the 8th layer of Spirit King stage was shocked when he saw Yi Tianyun was burned to death. Just a little bit of flame was enough to burn a person to death. This power was truly terrifying. Hetian and the others were all dumbfounded, especially Celestial Silkworm, whose cultivation was similar to theirs, but he had been killed with a single slash. Just how much of a difference was there between them to achieve such an effect? Don't be so arrogant. We have so many people here. Even if you are powerful, can you kill all of us in one go? Hetian did not cower in the slightest. Instead, he furiously roared, "Kill them all. Let's charge in and slaughter the entire Sealing Divine Nation." Roar! One by one, they couldn't wait any longer, and quickly rushed towards the city wall. They all took out their strongest weapons, and prepared to smash the city wall or climb it. They were all powerful cultivators, but now it was as if they had returned to primitive times, and all of them wanted to climb up the walls. They didn't need to break down the city walls. Instead, they climbed up. Activate the Great Array. Suo Kaifeng's eyes were cold, without the slightest trace of fear. Since the other side had thrown caution to the wind, they were not weaklings either. They would go all out and kill all the invading enemies. OM. Immediately, the Great Array was activated, and a thick shield was released, sending many cultivators flying. At the same time, a powerful force was released, pressing down on the invaders, trying to flatten them. Let's join forces and break this shield. Hetian and the other kings exchanged glances, and they quickly gathered together. More than a dozen Saint King stage powerhouses joined forces, and their power instantly soared into the sky, transforming into a terrifying sharp sword floating in the air, and then fiercely slashed towards the shield. Boom! Under the ferocious attacks, a crack appeared on the hard shield, and a deafening sound spread in all directions. What was even more amazing was that a terrible force penetrated into the shield, and the impact on the guards on the side of the city wall caused them to be sent flying, and all of them suffered serious injuries. With just one move, a crack appeared on the barrier. If this were to continue, the barrier would definitely be easily broken. Sure enough, you came prepared. It seems like you have been plotting this for a long time. You even have a body fusion martial art. Suo Kaifeng and the other kings' faces were gloomy. They believed that they had tried this before, otherwise, they wouldn't be able to cooperate so well. Do you think that you will be safe in there? You are too naive. We will break this broken turtle shell in no time. Hetian sneered and said. You will die soon, and the Fengtian Divine Kingdom will disappear forever. In addition to them, there were also many Spirit King stage cultivators who joined hands to attack the thick protective shield. If they didn't destroy the shield, it would be difficult to enter. Many people panicked. The originally indestructible shield was cracked, and if this continued, it would definitely be destroyed. Without this shield, what else could they use to resist this group of powerful enemies? Is this all you've got? Yi Tianyun, who was standing in the air, looked at them coldly. If this is all you've got, then it's time to end it. Boy, I know that your cultivation is not weak, but do you think that you are the king of the heavens in front of so many of us? When Swordsmanship saw his disdainful expression, he flew into a rage and said, "Let's break this barrier together and kill all these conceited bastards. All the inheritance of the king of the heavens will be ours, including all the treasures." Hearing Swordsmanship's roar, everyone's aura skyrocketed as if they were injected with chicken blood. Especially when they heard that they could obtain the inheritance of the king of the heavens, they were very excited. They had been stagnant for too long, and this was the main reason why they joined forces to attack the Fontian divine kingdom. They wanted to see how they could continue to break through the inheritance. Therefore, they had to put aside all the rules and favors. All they wanted now was to break through, nothing else mattered. I am not the king of the heavens, but I am his descendant. Tianyan waved his hand, and the thick clouds in the sky suddenly dispersed. 10 rays of starlight shined in the sky, and almost instantaneously, a terrifying light beam blasted from the sky, covering an area of up to 100 meters wide. It was not aimed at Swordsmanship, but at the Spirit King stage powerhouses behind him. In an instant, the light beam enveloped all the Spirit King stage powerhouses. As soon as the light beam enveloped them, it quickly destroyed everything in its path. Not a single scream could be heard. After the dazzling light disappeared, all that was left was a huge hole. There wasn't even a corpse left. Chapter 741. There was no sound of an explosion, nor were there any screams. Everything disappeared just like that, as if it had been ruthlessly dug out. What was left behind was a large empty space that was 100 zhang wide. Looking down from above, it looked like a bottomless pit. Ding, successfully killed first layer Spirit King stage invader, gained 600 million EXP, 25,000 crazy point, obtained. Ding, successfully killed 5th layer Spirit King stage invader, gained 900 million EXP, 33,000 crazy point, obtained. Ding, successfully killed 6th layer Spirit King stage invader, gained. In an instant, a large number of Spirit King stage experts were killed, not to mention all the Spirit King stage experts. 90% of the Spirit King stage experts were instantly killed and turned into ashes. Then it turned into a pile of EXP, crazily rushing to the system in Tianyan's head. Ding! Congratulations to player Tianyan for successfully breaking through to 2nd layer Saint King stage. After killing so many Spirit King stage experts, he directly stepped into 2nd layer Saint King stage in one fell swoop. This was all thanks to the 80 times EXP card that he got from the lottery. After stacking 32 times, he got 112 times EXP. Spirit King stage experts didn't have a lot of EXP, but under the effect of 121 times EXP, he got an amazing amount of EXP. Especially when there were a lot of Spirit King stage experts. There were at least 50 or 60 of them. Under this terrifying attack, he instantly lost more than 90% of his strength, allowing him to immediately break through to the Saint King stage 2nd stage. Sure enough, when a large number of experts gathered together and killed them, it was the best time to earn EXP. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough crazy point, otherwise he could buy a 100 times EXP card. The effect would be amazing. It's just that gaining crazy point was much more difficult than gaining EXP. The increase of EXP was over 100 million, but the increase of crazy point was only a few tens of thousands, at most a few 100,000. If it was easy to gain EXP, he would have already leveled up his divine skills. Not only is it great to gain EXP, but also to kill a group of scum. Tianyan felt very comfortable in his heart. A bunch of ingrates. He didn't feel the slightest bit of guilt when he killed them. There was only endless pleasure. Staying behind was just a bunch of scourges. The demons hadn't even attacked yet, but they were already killing each other internally. Especially when he said that the life and death of the demon beasts had nothing to do with them. Who asked the King of the Heavens to eliminate the demon beasts? If you have the ability, don't try to clear it. If the King of the Heavens had heard these words, he would have felt a chill in his heart. He didn't ask for all of his assets to be repaid, but saying such words was really disgusting. The sudden change scared everyone. In just a blink of an eye, A large number of Spirit King stage powerhouses were gone. It was as if he had vanished from the face of the earth. Gone just like that. Many of the country rulers were so frightened that their hearts trembled. They stopped their attacks and raised their heads to look at Tianyun in shock, as well as the 10 stars in the sky. What kind of power is this? Could it be the power left behind by the King of the Heavens? That must be it. If I was hit by that power, I'm afraid I would also die. What's the point of fighting? I surrender. I surrender. With just one move, they were all scared out of their wits. Many of the country rulers raised their flags and surrendered, not daring to continue attacking. If they continued to attack, they would be turned into ashes with just one more move. Suo Kaifeng's side was also stunned. They had never seen such a terrifying power of the stars. Although they could use the power of the stars, they had never used such a terrifying power. In just a blink of an eye, a large number of Spirit King stage experts were killed. If it were them, it would take a lot of effort to kill so many Spirit King stage experts. If there were so many Spirit King stage experts, it would be even more difficult to kill them. In the blink of an eye, most of the Spirit King stage powerhouses and the elite elders of the 8 divine nations were annihilated. Surrender? Do you think there's any meaning in this? Tianyun looked at many country rulers who were begging for mercy. His eyes were filled with coldness. Only after witnessing the power of the 9 divine nations would they regret it. No, don't pay attention to him. He might only be able to use it once. Who knows when he'll be able to use it again? He is just trying to scare us. Don't be afraid of him. We will continue to fight. Shirhatian shouted. Moreover, he killed many of our elders. We must avenge them. We must not surrender. Shirhatian's instigation skill was indeed good, but more importantly, he couldn't swallow this humiliation. As a country ruler, he obviously didn't want to give up. Especially since Tianyun had killed so many of their people, he was shocked and angry at the same time. But if most of the country rulers chose to give up, then they wouldn't be able to attack the city anymore. After all, the energy shield was too hard, and they didn't know how long it would take for them to destroy it. Are you sure you can only use it once? Tianyun looked at Shirhatian and sneered. Your instigation skill is good, but do you really think I will give it a chance to kill those Spirit King stage cultivators instead of you? I don't know if you are too stupid or I am. Tianyun looked at them sarcastically as if he was looking at a group of ants. Under the effect of this top-grade divine artifact, these Saint King stage cultivators were just a group of ants. He didn't even use his full power, just a small part of it was enough to kill them. This was the power of a divine king. As long as he moved his finger, most of the Saint King stage cultivators would turn into ashes. As soon as Tianyun said this, the country rulers who had been instigated were stunned as if a bucket of cold water was poured on them. If he could only use it once, why would he waste it on those Spirit King stage cultivators? No, don't believe him. Let's continue to attack. Shirhatian still chose not to believe Tianyun's words. Don't worry. Regardless of whether you believe me or not, you will all die here today. There's no medicine for regret here. Tianyun's eyes turned cold as he flicked his finger, and the 10 stars in the sky shone with dazzling light. Terrifying spiritual power condensed once again, and its power was even more tyrannical than before. Many of the country rulers were scared witless as they ran to the side as fast as they could. When he looked at Shirhatian, he realized that his speed was even faster. He was running much faster than anyone else. He was the one who shouted the loudest before, and now he was the one who ran the fastest. You can't escape. Tianyun's eyes were cold, and before he could finish his words, he had already launched his attack. This time, the range of the attack was hundreds of meters wide. Although the speed of their escape was very fast, the speed of their attacks was even faster, and they instantly enveloped all the Saint Kings. Voila! Chapter 742. Tianyun's attack was stronger than the previous one, but this time it was aimed at all the Saint King stage experts, and it was a complete suppression. Just like before, the area shrouded by the death ray was completely hollowed out, and the Saint King stage experts couldn't even scream before they were completely suppressed. Everyone looked at the area shrouded by the death ray. The power of the death ray, was much stronger than before. They couldn't imagine themselves being shrouded by it, and their hearts couldn't help but tremble. If they were hit by the death ray, they would definitely die without a doubt. The power of the death ray was too terrifying. It was much more terrifying than before, especially the previous attack that killed a large number of Spirit King stage experts. If they were hit by it, they would definitely die. Isn't the power of the stars a little too terrifying? That's right, I've never seen such a terrifying star power. So many elders have used it before, but the most they can draw upon is the power of 5 stars, which is already quite heaven-defying. Now it's 10-star power. At present, he is the only one who can summon 10-star power. Fortunately, he is from our Fengtian Divine Empire, otherwise we would all be dead. Everyone looked at Yi Tianyan with awe. Some of them just knew that it was Yi Tianyan who summoned the 10-star power, but most of them didn't know that the 10-star power was a super divine tool. With 10 divine tools attacking at the same time, as long as one wasn't a God King stage expert, they would definitely be suppressed to death. Especially with the 10 divine tools absorbing spiritual power from the surroundings, and under the powerful divine rune array, their power was definitely beyond imagination. And with the power of the King of the Heavens, their power was amazing. Otherwise, how could they suppress the Demon King? Ding. Successfully killed Heavenly Rain Monarch. Reward: 8. 3 billion EXP, 250,000 crazy point, 30,000 SPs. Successfully killed Rain State Preceptor. Got 8 billion EXP 200,000 crazy point, 28,000 SPS got. Ding. Successfully killed Ink Cloud Monarch. Experience gained. Ding. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyan for successfully breaking through to Saint King Stage 3rd layer. One by one, the monarchs and imperial preceptors were slaughtered like chickens and dogs. They were easily killed without even having the chance to resist. This power was too terrifying. Even Yi Tianyan was deeply shocked. Now, with more than half of its original strength, its power had reached 40 billion battle power. Even a peak Saint King stage powerhouse would be instantly crushed to ashes. Now that the cultivation states of these country kings weren't all that strong, they were easily suppressed. However, there were still a few rulers who had decent foundations. They all had astonishing divine artifact level magic treasures. Thick barriers enveloped them as they flew up. It looked like nothing had happened, but the barrier had been mostly destroyed and was on the verge of collapsing. Overall, they had suffered minor injuries. Even with the protection of a powerful shield, they were still affected a little. Only less than half of the powerhouses survived this wave of attacks, and Swordsmanship was one of them. Their eyes were filled with fear. Even though they had powerful treasures, they were still suppressed and injured. This power was truly terrifying to the extreme, shocking everyone. Half of them are still alive. No wonder I can't advance 2 levels in a row. Yi Tianyan shook his head. No wonder he couldn't advance 2 levels in a row. Who knew that almost half of them were still alive? According to his estimation, they could advance at least 2 levels. Although his cultivation had increased, it was only an increase of 10 billion experience points per level. This meant that he now needed 50 billion experience points to level up. Just hearing it made his scalp tingle. No wonder it was extremely difficult for a Saint King stage powerhouse to break through. Now it was extremely difficult for him to advance. Without high multiplier EXP card, it would be really difficult for him to advance. Especially if he didn't have Spirit King stage cultivation, he wouldn't get any EXP below the Spirit King stage. He couldn't advance even if he slaughtered an entire city. It would take too much time. Even stacking 32 times EXP wouldn't work. Only by stacking a few hundred times EXP would he be able to advance. You? Who do you think you are? If you have what it takes, then come fight us. Using a treasure left behind by the heaven-sealing God King? What kind of skill is that? Swordsmanship took a deep breath, and then began to provoke them. That's right. If you have the ability, then come down and fight with us. If you don't have this weapon, then you are nothing. If you don't have the ability, then why are you still standing there arrogantly? The other kings shouted loudly. They knew what Swordsmanship was thinking. He wanted to provoke Yi Tianyan so that he wouldn't use the star artifact. If he used it again, they would definitely die. Although the treasure could resist once, it didn't mean that it could resist a second time. Don't listen to his provocation. They just don't want you to use the star power. Suo Kaifeng hurriedly shouted. If Yi Tianyan went down, he would have to face 7 or 8 Saint King stage powerhouses, especially when they had a trump card. Yi Yuanlong and the others also had a worried look on their faces. They hadn't been with Yi Tianyan for a long time, so they didn't know what the real situation was. Because Yi Tianyan was too young, it was very likely that he would be provoked, so they hurriedly tried to persuade him. Sure, Shuoyin didn't say a word. She also didn't refute the others. She knew that Yi Tianyan had his own ideas, and it was his own business to decide what he wanted to do. Yi Tianyan smiled indifferently and flew down directly. The stars in the sky were once again shrouded by the clouds. Without a doubt, he chose to listen to Shi Hetian's words and didn't use the star power anymore. That's great. What an idiot. His talent isn't bad, but he's too young. He was provoked successfully with just a few words. He's really too stupid. Shi Hetian's eyes lit up, and he quickly transmitted a message to the other rulers. This brat has taken the bait. Later on, let's work together to suppress him. As long as we kill him, there won't be any problems. The other rulers nodded heavily, their eyes filled with excitement. However, there was more fear in their hearts. If Yi Tianyan used the star power again, they would definitely be dead. Second Elder, come back. Suo Kaifeng hurriedly flew over, wanting to block in front of Yi Tianyan and stop him from continuing. He's provoking us. If we go over and fall into their trap, we'll be in trouble. I know, but in the face of absolute power, all schemes are meaningless. Yi Tianyan's tone was full of confidence. He wasn't an idiot. How could an existence that could create an empire be an idiot? He wanted to let the spectators behind him see that he was able to defeat so many powerhouses, not because he relied on the power left behind by the King of the Heavens, but because he himself possessed it. Chapter 743. When Suo Kaifeng heard Yi Tianyan's words, he was extremely anxious. He felt that this was simply nonsense. Before the protective shield was out, he hurriedly tried to persuade Yi Tianyan not to leave. If Yi Tianyan really died outside, the Fengtian divine nation would really be finished. Or rather, their future hope would be finished just like that. They could still defend against the attack of the army, but the person who could activate 10 stars was no longer around. The scene just now had left them dumbfounded. The terrifying power was enough to make them exclaim in admiration. As long as they were in the heavenly realm, who would dare to oppose them? Even if a second king of the heavens did not appear, just the power of the stars was enough to crush most of the god nations. They did not dare to say that they could crush all the god nations. The heavenly realm was so vast that it was hard to imagine. Some of the hidden forces might be extremely powerful. After all, after so many years, who knew if a heaven-defying genius would appear? But regardless of the other forces, the Fengtian divine nation had Yi Tianyan. At least the god nations would not dare to invade. Whoever dared to invade would be ruthlessly suppressed. Even if not all of them died, more than half would. As for the rest, they could completely rely on themselves to defend. Therefore, Yi Tianyan was their final trump card. They definitely could not let him die. Listen to me, don't go over. You've seen their combined attack, its power is extremely shocking. If you can't withstand it, you'll die. Suo Kaifeng persuaded earnestly, and with good intentions. Kid, looks like you still intend to hide in that turtle shell? Then, you will activate the power of the King of the Heavens to suppress us? If that's really the case, I'm really disappointed. Didn't you think that you were very powerful before? If you have the ability, come and fight with us. A real man should rely on his own ability, not external power. If you rely on external power, can you still be considered a real man? It's not your own ability at all. Without the power of the King of the Heavens, you are just a fart, a coward. Shi Hetian scolded Yi Tianyan crazily. He simply wants to scold Yi Tianyan to the point that he is nothing but trash. Some hot-blooded youths were really easy to provoke. That was what they were aiming for. Young people who had achieved great things were easily arrogant. At that time, he would become very impulsive, and it would be useless for anyone to dissuade him. In order to prove himself, he would risk his life. They were more worried that Yi Tianyan would listen to Suo Kaifeng's advice. If he chose to retreat, they would lose all hope. Patriarch, I have my own plans. Yi Tianyan looked at him with determination. Suo Kaifeng saw that Yi Tianyan's eyes weren't lost at all. Instead, they were filled with determination and confidence. All right. Suo Kaifeng really chose to step aside. When he returned to the top of the city wall, he was shocked. Why did he agree just like that? He really did listen to Yi Tianyan's words and came back obediently, as if he had received an order. This was the benefit of having a high commander point. He could make others believe in his words and not blindly oppose him. This caused many disciples behind the city wall to be in an uproar. Why did the patriarch really let Yi Tianyan go alone? Wasn't that courting death? What's wrong with the patriarch? He actually let him go alone. Isn't that courting death? That's right. This is a genius who can control 10 stars. If he dies, who knows when we can find another genius like him? Damn it. Hurry up and stop him. If I could fly, I would have rushed up to stop him. All the disciples felt that Yi Tianyan's cultivation wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't at a heaven-defying level. He was able to suppress so many people before because of the power of the King of the Heavens. That was why he could kill so many experts with his sword. Good lad. This is a real man. Sherhatian praised. In his heart he was cursing, what an idiot. This behavior was indeed manly, but more accurately, he was more like an idiot. They almost cheered. At this critical moment, the other party was actually an idiot. How could they not cheer? Yi Tianyan landed on the ground and walked out of the barrier step by step. He waved the evil spirit divine sword in his hand lightly and maintained a calm expression on his face. With every step he took, they kept shouting in their hearts, hoping that Yi Tianyan would continue to walk out. When he walked out, they would immediately attack as a group and blast Yi Tianyan into pieces. Yi Tianyan didn't know what they were thinking. He sped up a bit and said indifferently, "It seems that you are very confident in your own strength. In fact, I have always seen a lot of strong people who think that they can win. In my opinion, cultivators often have a few big illusions. They are, I am a genius. I can break through. And finally, I can kill my opponent. Obviously, you guys belong to the third group of idiots. What's the point of saying so much nonsense? Only by coming out and fighting will we know who is right and who is wrong. Only then can we prove who is the strongest." Sherhatian shouted. "No, thank you for not dying. I can use your strength to complete a small task for me," Xiao Luo said with a smile. Yi Tianyan walked to the edge of the barrier. Everyone's heart was about to fly out of their chest, whether it was Sherhatian or the people in the city. "What is it?" Sherhatian frowned. He didn't know what Yi Tianyan was talking about. He only knew that his mouth was talking nonstop. Xiao. Suddenly, Yi Tianyan's figure disappeared, and the next moment he appeared behind them. Yi Tianyan's speed was too fast, so fast that they didn't even see him clearly. Poochie. Yi Tianyan gently slashed down and immediately cut an Imperial Preceptor in half. At the same time, black flame quickly emerged and burned the Imperial Preceptor to death. Ding! Successfully killed Imperial Preceptor Lu Yin. Reward: 3 billion EXP, 200,000. 000 CPS, 13,000. 000 SPS. As soon as Yi Tianyan killed an Imperial Preceptor, he quickly moved on to the other Imperial Preceptor. His speed was so fast that they couldn't even see him clearly. In the blink of an eye, the two Saint King stage powerhouses were easily chopped to death and turned into a large pile of experience that flowed into the system. Yi Tianyan immediately attacked again. He turned into a gust of wind and swept towards the Imperial Preceptor Lu Yun, but this gust of wind was like a sword. Originally, there were 7 or 8 people standing, but now there were only 3 people left standing. This scene shocked everyone. The Saint King stage powerhouse that everyone admired was easily beheaded without even the slightest resistance. It should be said that it was useless to resist. Yi Tianyan's speed was faster, and his power was stronger. Even his body-protecting magic tool was cut in half. This power is too terrifying. Is this his real strength? Too strong. Even if he doesn't rely on the ancestors' power, he is still so strong. I think I fell in love with him. One by one, the onlookers cheered. Almost all the disciples in Fengtian Divine Kingdom were excited. Yi Tianyun's reputation instantly exploded, and his favorability skyrocketed. I'm using your lives to gain some favorability. Yi Tianyun's mouth outlined an evil smile. This situation is exactly what he wanted. Chapter 744. External forces could also intimidate others. However, relying on one's own strength to intimidate others was the only way to raise one's status. If there was no external force, then one would not be able to intimidate others. Of course, relying on external forces was also one's own ability. However, in order to maximize his prestige, Yi Tianyun chose to take action personally. He wanted to prove to everyone that the Fengtian Divine Kingdom did not lack experts. He also wanted to prove that his strength did not depend on the King of the Heavens, but on himself. The deafening cheers were the best proof. Many elders of the Fengtian Divine Kingdom shook their heads. It seemed that from today onwards, Yi Tianyun's reputation would definitely explode. It was too easy for him to become the second elder. Previously, many people did not know that he had become an elder. Even if they knew, they would definitely not be convinced. Now he could easily increase his prestige by showing off his skills. He would be able to sit firmly in his position. Given his current situation, not to mention the second elder, even the great elder would be able to sit firmly in his position. Strength reigned supreme. This was an unchanging truth. He was not interested in the position of second elder. However, he had done so to stabilize the position of his father and grandfather. When everyone knew that Yi Tianyun was their son and grandson, they immediately felt a sense of reverence. If anyone wanted to deal with them, they would have to think about Yi Tianyun. When the day came when his sword slashed down, they would not even know what would happen. Run, run. After being stunned for a long time, Sherhutian spat out these two meaningless words. Everyone knew that they had to run, but could they outrun Yi Tianyun's speed? In the next moment, the remaining three fled in different directions. However, their speed was not as fast as Yi Tianyun. In the blink of an eye, Yi Tianyun intercepted them and slashed down with the evil spirit divine sword. In their last moments, all they saw was Yi Tianyun's cold gaze. When they saw the look in Yi Tianyun's eyes, they completely lost consciousness. If it were a normal expert, they would still be able to live for a period of time, even if they were cut in two. However, under the evil spirit divine sword's frightening soul-devouring power, coupled with the frightening black flames, it first dispersed their consciousness before they were burnt to ashes by the black flames. In this kind of situation, he was absolutely dead. He didn't even have the consciousness to resist before he was burned to ashes. This was his most powerful weapon. As long as one's soul was weak, they would be devoured by the evil spirit. 1. After Yi Tianyun reported the number, his figure flashed again, and disappeared from where he was. He went to intercept the other two imperial advisors who were trying to escape. Don't kill me. I'm willing to submit to you. I'm willing to become a vassal of the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. Buzz. Yi Tianyun's answer was an invincible sword light that cut him in half. Yi Tianyun didn't have any intention of stopping. Surrender is meaningless to him. This kind of person was most likely to betray him. Keeping him around would be a scourge. The second one. In the next moment, Yi Tianyun appeared in front of Sherhutian. After killing the two escaping experts, he was still able to catch up to Sherhutian. It had to be said that Yi Tianyun's strength was overwhelming. If one or two escaped, no one would say anything. After all, the opponents were all Saint King stage experts. But now, not only had he killed the two escaping experts, he had also caught up to Sherhutian. This kind of strength was enough to crush all the other emperors. Where do you think you're going? Yi Tianyun calmly blocked in front of him, scaring Sherhutian so much that he almost fell to the ground. Yui. Sherhutian was so scared that he stuttered. He couldn't even speak clearly, his eyes were filled with fear. He didn't expect that Yi Tianyun's strength was also so strong. When he saw Yi Tianyun easily kill Celestial Silkworm, he thought that Yi Tianyun had also borrowed the power of the King of the Heavens. Therefore, they planned to deceive Yi Tianyan into coming out. Once he came out, it would be their world. But who knew that Yi Tianyan was really powerful? He had the strength to crush everyone. Do you have any last words? Yi Tianyan said indifferently. You, why are you so strong? Are you the reincarnation of the king of the heavens? Finally, Shurhatian said. He really couldn't believe that Yi Tianyan could have such a strong cultivation at such a young age. They had seen countless geniuses, but they had never seen someone break through to the Saint King stage at such a young age. They had seen countless geniuses, but they had never seen someone break through to the Spirit King stage at such a young age. The current Yi Tianyan in front of them seemed to be beyond their expectations. The reincarnation of the King of the Heavens. Yi Tianyan said indifferently. The King of the Heavens is not dead. What reincarnation? The King of the Heavens is not dead? Shurhatian was shocked. How is this possible? The three divine kings hadn't appeared for a long time, and everyone thought that they were dead. If they were still alive, they would definitely appear instead of hiding. Yi Tianyan also didn't know whether he was dead or not, but he didn't think that he would die so easily. How could such a powerful divine king die so easily? Believe it or not, it has nothing to do with me. Yi Tianyan raised the evil spirit divine sword in his hand and smiled indifferently. But there is one thing I want to thank you for. What is it? Shurhatian clenched the long sword in his hand, and a light flashed in the depth of his eyes. He already had a new idea. Thank you for giving me so much experience. Yi Tianyan smiled, looking so harmless. In the next moment, Shurhatian suddenly rose up, and the divine sword in his hand turned into a silver light that pierced through. In an instant, he ignited his blood essence, and performed the strongest move he had ever performed. In an instant, the area around his body was shaken into powder by the terrifying power, and at the same time, the area where Yi Tianyan was enveloped in it, sealing off all escape routes. Countless silver lights were released from the divine sword, and some even exploded from his body, condensing into a giant sword that pierced through the sky. Go to hell! Shurhatian roared. He wanted to take advantage of the moment when Yi Tianyan was relaxed to launch a fierce counterattack. As long as he killed Yi Tianyan, he still had a chance. The divine sword was very fast, but the silver light was even faster. However, Yi Tianyan's evil spirit divine sword was still faster, and he gently slashed down. With him as the center, the silver light around him turned into powder, and quickly enveloped the area. Boom! A black light shot up into the sky, forming a black light pillar that connected the sky, and the original day turned into night in the blink of an eye. Many of the disciples in the Fengtian divine kingdom were stunned. They only saw a terrifying force slamming towards them, and it fiercely collided with the hard barrier, making pa-pa-pa sounds. Chapter 745. Ding. Successfully killed Shurhatian. Reward 10,002 billion EXP, 500. 000 Crazy Point, 500. 000 SPS. Reward. Heavenly Stone Secret Art, Crystal Divine Art. Reward. Heavenly Stone Axe, Low-Grade Divine Tool. Heavenly Jade Stone, 20 times EXP card. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyan for successfully breaking through to 4th layer Saint King stage. Finally, after killing Shurhatian, Yi Tianyan successfully broke through to 4th layer Saint King stage. In this battle, his cultivation increased by 3 layers, which made him quite satisfied. It's a pity that he doesn't have enough crazy point, otherwise he wouldn't be at this level. Unfortunately, the price is too high. 100 times card costs him 10 million crazy point. If he buys too many, the price will rise too much, so he can't afford it anymore. As for the rest of the EXP cards, he can't afford them. Now that he killed a large number of experts, he can finally afford a batch. It's just that it's not worth it to use them now. It's better to save them for later. There are a lot of divine nations. If someone provokes him, he won't mind helping them clean up. It's over. Everyone looked at the area where Yi Tianyan stood. Shurhatian has already been destroyed, and only then did they realize what happened. Is it finally over? Yi Tianyan was able to kill so many experts from the 8 great divine nations, but they were all killed by Yi Tianyan. After everyone reacted, They were greeted with a burst of cheers. Everyone was excited. Although most of them have just seen Yi Tianyan. But since he can trigger 10 stars, it means that he is an expert of Fengtian Divine Nation. Since it's one of their own, how can they not be excited to be able to suppress so many experts of divine nations? Too strong. When did we have such a terrifying expert? Is he an old ancestor-level figure? Or the reincarnation of some strong expert? No matter who he is still a member of our Fengtian Divine Nation. Now our Fengtian Divine Nation's ranking is even higher. Let's see who thinks that our Fengtian Divine Nation has declined. Patriarch is really secretive. He doesn't even let people out until it's a crisis. It might be our secret weapon. Who knew that it would be forced out? I guess what we're waiting for is for these blind god nations to come over. One by one, the disciples laughed heartily. They all thought that it was a secret weapon that the Patriarch and the others had hidden, and they would not use it until the critical moment. That way, they would have another trump card. When the others thought that the sky-sealing divine kingdom had run out of power, they would use it. At that time, it would be a heavy slap to their faces. Those who knew the truth were incomparably embarrassed. Previously they were still mocking Yi Tianyan. Now, other than embarrassment, they felt even more guilty. If only Yi Tianyan stayed here, there wouldn't be any strong enemies coming to attack them. Hero! 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 All of them cheered. They didn't know Yi Tianyan's name, but they all knew him as a hero. He was their hero. If not for him, the Fengtian Divine Kingdom would have fallen. Hero! Yi Tianyan squinted his eyes and turned to look behind him. The disciples of the Fengtian Divine Kingdom were cheering, raising his reputation to an extremely high level. Everyone's impression of him increased explosively. Ding! Title Saving a Life is Better Than Building a 7-storied Pagoda has successfully leveled up. Prestige points increased to 3,000. After hearing this, Yi Tianyan was momentarily stunned. This was considered saving people? If he thought about it carefully, he really did save people. If not for him, these experts would definitely have charged in and killed many people inside. Of course, all of this had started because of him. If not for him, the 8 god nations would not have sent their troops to attack. He was just a fuse that had been ignited prematurely. And it was the kind that would completely explode. If he wasn't here, it would still explode in a few years at most. It was just a matter of time. He had only ignited it prematurely. Who wouldn't be eyeing this place covetously? Therefore, from the perspective of cause and effect, Yi Tianyan had indeed saved them. If he hadn't returned, they would have also been attacked. At that time, the Great Elder and the Third Elder would probably still be immersed in their power. They would have fallen into the enemy's hands not long after they had stabilized their positions. 3,000 prestige points. My prestige points must have skyrocketed, right? Yi Tianyan felt the importance of prestige points. Sometimes having a high prestige point would have a huge impact on one's character. When he flew back to the city wall, everyone's gazes were fixed on him. Each and every one of them had looks of worship in their eyes, as if they were looking at a great hero, an absolute hero. Only Suo Kaifeng and the rest sighed deeply. No matter what, Yi Tianyan had chosen to leave. He had already made the best decision. Stay, we welcome you here. Suo Kaifeng tried to persuade him to stay. Patriarch, thank you for your good intentions. The situation has improved, and it is indeed a good process. However, I don't need to be here for the time being. After this incident, I believe that the other divine nations that want to invade Fengtian Divine Country will give up on the idea. Yi Tianyan said with a smile. He was confident that his actions would ensure the safety of Fengtian Divine Country. He didn't dare to say that it would last forever, but at least it would protect them until the demons attacked. The 8 god nations' rulers and imperial advisors had all been killed. Even if the remaining experts couldn't take this lying down, they would have to swallow it. If they came again, they would all be dead. After all, they had all come prepared. Even if they came prepared, they would all be dead. Therefore, no matter how much they prepared, it would be meaningless. That's true. Suo Kaifeng shook his head. In the end, he gave up on trying to persuade them. He had only hoped to persuade them one more time. However, since they were all unwilling, There was no need to continue. Patriarch, we can't ask Tianyan to do too much. After all, we have always owed him. Yuanlong looked at Tianyan and said with a smile, "This will always be your home. You are welcome to come back at any time." I will come back." Tianyan looked at them for a moment. In the end, he bowed deeply to Xingchen and Jiao Lingyi before he said, "We are leaving. If there is anything you need us for, we will definitely come back to help." Jiao Lingyi's eyes reddened. She wanted very much to ask Tianyan to stay, but after careful consideration, she finally let them go. Shortly after, Tianyan and Shi Shuiyin left quickly. When the cheering disciples saw Tianyan leave with his people, they were all confused. Logically speaking, there should be a celebratory feast. Why did they leave? Our children have grown up. We don't need to worry about them anymore. Xingchen patted Jiao Lingyi's shoulder and said with a smile, "What we need to do now is to make Fengtian God Nation stronger. From now on, we will listen to Tianyan's instructions and resist the demons." Chapter 746. The news of Tianyan killing the 8 Divine Kingdoms king and imperial preceptor-level powerhouses quickly spread and shocked most of the heavenly realm. A small number of people lived in seclusion in the mountains, so they didn't know about it. After knowing about it, most of them were deeply shocked and immediately ordered not to be enemies with the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. Even the 8 Divine Kingdoms were crushed, not to mention those who were weaker than the 8 Divine Kingdoms. However, the 8 Divine Kingdoms that participated in this war weren't the top 10. Only some of them were. None of the top 3 divine nations had come, and no one knew what they were thinking. Only they themselves would know. For Tianyan, if the top 3 divine kingdoms came, he would be more than happy to harvest the experience. Originally, he could go and harvest the 8 divine kingdoms, but after thinking about it, he gave up. After all, the real masterminds were the king and imperial preceptor. After eradicating them, there wouldn't be much harm to the 8 divine kingdoms, and it would also play a certain role in deterrence. If he killed them all, he would become a homicidal maniac, and it would cause a backlash. Many divine kingdoms joined forces to deal with the Fengtian divine kingdom. This was not a good sign. Tianyan wasn't afraid, but it didn't mean that his family wasn't afraid. It was very likely that the beggar next to him was an enemy ambushing him. As long as he eradicated some of the stronger ones, those below the Spirit King stage wouldn't be a threat. Especially when the demonic beasts were attacking, they needed to unite. Without these greedy powerhouses, they wouldn't have any improper thoughts towards them. However, if they came again, he wouldn't mind annihilating them. Finally, I can relax a little. Tianyan breathed a sigh of relief. He felt that everything was over, and it was time to leave that place. Is it because you haven't seen your parents for a long time that you feel a little depressed? Shi Shuiyin saw through Tianyan's situation at a glance. What really made Tianyan uncomfortable was not a group of enemies. Yes, I'm still not used to getting along with them, but it will get better in the future. Tianyan smiled. They haven't seen each other since childhood. Even if they spent some time together, they still felt a little restrained. It wasn't easy to get along with him. He could only take it slow. Moreover, most of the time he didn't have time. It's okay. No matter if there's someone by your side or not, I'll always be by your side, no matter if your choice is right or wrong. Shi Shuiyin leaned her head on his shoulder, looking so blissful. Shuiyin. Tianyan lifted her chin and kissed her gently. Complete main quest Save Father. Reward 500. 000 000 EXP, 100. 000 Crazy Point, 2 lottery roulette tickets. Successfully accepted the main quest, find the mortal world's Heaven Ascension Temple, and gain control of it. Reward. 20 billion EXP, 150k Crazy Points. A brand new main quest had just popped up, which meant that he needed to go here to do the main quest. It was no different from what he had wanted to do before. Originally, when he returned to the mortal world, he needed to find the Heaven Ascension Temple in the mortal world, and then reactivate the Heaven Ascension Altar. Only by doing so could he freely traverse the 3 realms and consolidate his power in all 3 aspects. Now that he was in a hurry, he had a lot of time, but he needed to prepare more. Logically speaking, he could kill people to gain EXP and break through to God King stage. Then he could solve everything. But for now, killing enemies without hatred won't give him any EXP. Instead, it will deduct EXP. Only those who are hostile to him can be killed to gain EXP. Otherwise, it will be deducted. The best way was to deliberately lure the other party to hate him. But this wasn't his style. He couldn't just go and kill the other party without doing anything. The best way is to kill demon beasts, which works, but it's not easy to find powerful demon beasts. Compared to this, it's better to do the main quest, so he can get a lot of EXP. Since the main quest was given to him, there must be some meaning in it. We are ready to return to the mortal world. Yi Tianyan took Shuoyun to the side of the passage, and was ready to take her down. With your current situation, can you go down? Shuoyun wondered. If one's cultivation is too strong, it's not easy to pass through this passage. The passage not far away is relatively simple. It's actually a waterfall. You just need to slide down, but you can't fly. You can only use a boat to flow underwater. If one's cultivation is too strong, they will be blocked by the river, and the raging waves will hit them. It's enough to kill them. The stronger the cultivation, the stronger the waves. To put it bluntly, it's to stop those with strong cultivation from going down. Can I be the same as others? Yi Tianyan smiled and flew down with her. At this time in the passage, there are many cultivators preparing to go down, but when they saw someone flying over, they were immediately shocked. Amazing, isn't this kid afraid of death? Flying here and directly to the passage, is he courting death so fast? Hee, don't you see that the kid is hugging a beauty? He wants to show off. That's true, but when they fly over there, they will directly fall. When that time comes, there will be no boat, and they will directly sink to the bottom of the water. That will be fun. Yes, it's a pity that such a beautiful person will die down there. It's really a pity. Everyone shook their heads. They all felt that Yi Tianyan and Shuoyun were doomed. In one breath, they flew to the waterfall, and then plunged in, not to mention being pushed into the water by the pressure. They didn't even make a splash. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from everyone's sight. There was no problem at all. They weren't restricted by the pressure at all. Immediately after, the group of people was shocked. It was very unbelievable. What's going on? They are fine. Or is it that the pressure here has disappeared, and they can fly freely? Soon after, he really dared to give it a try. He leaped to the side and tried to fly. At the same time as they jumped, it was as if there was an invisible hand slapping down, pressing them forcibly into the water, and very soon, they were swept into the water. A moment later, not even a splash was made. Everyone looked at each other, and from each other's eyes, they saw a ghost in each other's eyes. They couldn't even try, but they couldn't, and yet they could go down at will. Of course, they didn't know that Yi Tianyan, as the guardian, could easily go back and forth between the passage and the waterfall. It was the three god kings who controlled this passage, and as the guardian, they naturally could pass through it easily. Soon, Yi Tianyan easily took Shuoyun through the passage, and they returned to the familiar mortal world, back to the familiar heavenly clouds empire. As soon as they came back, they were immediately welcomed by everyone, especially Shuoyun. Everyone was very enthusiastic. Shuoyun, the heavenly clouds empire can't do without you. Yi Tianyan said with a smile. Empress, it can't be without you. Tianyan. Shuoyun held Yi Tianyan's hand tightly, and she nodded with tears in her eyes. I will never leave this place again. This is my real home. This is the place that belongs to us. When everyone saw the two of them holding hands, they saw the surprise in each other's eyes. They had already felt it before, but they didn't say it out loud. Great Emperor, when will you hold a grand wedding? At this time, someone stood up and suggested. Chapter 747. The time to unify the three realms. These words made everyone's heart tremble. They felt that unifying the mortal world was already amazing, let alone the three realms. How much power and influence was needed to unify the three realms? Although they were full of confidence in Yi Tianyan, they had to admit that it was a bit far-fetched to say such words at this moment. Because it was too difficult. There were too many forces in the heavenly realm and the netherworld divine kingdom, and all of them were willing to surrender to him. So it wasn't that they didn't trust Itianyan, but the goal was too terrifying. Everyone was a little embarrassed. According to the situation, they didn't know how long it would take to unify the three realms. Do you think it's difficult? Itianyan looked at their expressions. He didn't need them to say it out loud to know what they were thinking in their hearts. They all felt that it was impossible. We don't doubt the strength of the great emperor, but we feel that it will take too much time. Won't we let Palace Lordshire wait for too long? They were more tactful in their words. Even if Itianyan really had the power to rule, how long would it take? 10 years, 100 years, or 1,000 years? They felt that it would at least take more than 10,000 years. For so many years, no one could unify the three realms, not a single one. Even the heaven-creating divine king or the king of the heavens, no one had unified the three realms. Itianyan's words seemed to be a little too much. If we were married, she would be my wife now, Itianyan said in an unquestionable tone. I just want to use the three realms as a betrothal gift to marry Shuiyin. Unifying the mortal world as a betrothal gift is really not enough. I need the entire three realms as a betrothal gift to become the empress of the three realms. These words made their blood rush to the sky. Using the three realms as a betrothal gift, wasn't this a little too arrogant? But he was just that arrogant. He had the crazy system. If he couldn't even achieve this goal, then he wouldn't be successful. Shuiyin looked at Itianyan and felt touched. But what moved her the most was Itianyan's first words, that she was already his wife. She did not ask for a huge betrothal gift. She only wanted to stay by Itianyan's side. Now that she had admitted that she was his wife in front of everyone, she was overjoyed. Status was always the most important. It proved how important a person was to others. Now Itianyan even said that he would use the Empress of the Three Realms as a betrothal gift. This was even more shocking. This made her very happy. She wasn't sure if it would work out in the future, but this promise alone was enough. However, she believed that Itianyan would do what he said he would. He wouldn't make empty promises. Yue and the others looked at him enviously, but they could only stand by and watch. They couldn't make any decisions. They also wanted to stand by Itianyan's side and lean on him. But now they already felt very happy. They could have their own status and do what they liked. Everything was given to them by Itianyan. I believe many people think that we're biting off more than we can chew. That's understandable. Then let's focus on ruling the mortal world. From today onwards, we will spread our influence and negotiate with the other empires to form a grand alliance. We will become the alliance leader and lead all the forces. Itianyan's eyes flashed. Rice had to be eaten one bite at a time. He didn't ask to rule the three realms immediately. But starting from the mortal world was not a problem. Forming a grand alliance? They looked at each other in confusion. Aren't we going to kill our way through like before? Their idea was to flatten the empires one by one. They would flatten those who refused to obey, then take over all the empires. It was that simple. Do you think I'm a homicidal maniac? To unify the mortal world, we don't need to use forceful methods. We just need to prove that we're the strongest. Then they will listen to our instructions. We will form a grand alliance and let them follow us. Itianyan smiled faintly. If we flatten them one by one, then we can be considered ruling. This will only lead to destruction. He admitted that he was strong enough, but it wasn't enough to kill all those who resisted him. The best way was to assimilate them. Slowly assimilate them. As long as they didn't have any hostility towards him, that would be enough. That's not a problem. But what if they don't agree? Yue asked. Some forces are very unyielding. Unless we flatten them, they won't surrender at all. You just need to make it clear to them. What we need is an alliance, not an enemy. As long as they choose to surrender to us, they will be able to obtain a large amount of martial arts and even weapons. Lure them with benefits. Itianyan threw out a few rings. These are for you. You can use them as enticement. That's quite a rough method. They looked at each other. It would cost a lot. With so many forces, if they all wanted some benefits, wouldn't they all be stripped bare? Just give as you see fit. We have our own bottom line. Itianyan said indifferently. We can't just take whatever we want. It depends on their forces. If a second-rank force asks us for heaven-class martial arts, then that's impossible. Yes, we can do that, Yue said. But what if there are still people who resist? Then we'll destroy them. Tianyun said indifferently. I don't want to see any forces that resist me. If they resist me, then suppress them. I don't need them to listen to me. Instead, I need allies who can stand on the same side when necessary. Not slaves. You can tell them that. Tianyun unifying the mortal world wasn't because he wanted to rule. It wasn't necessary. He did it to deal with the demons. Only by uniting could they fight against the demons. From the memories given to him by the King of the Heavens, he knew a lot about the situation at that time. There were millions, perhaps even tens of millions of demons charging over. They were densely packed together. Just relying on a few rankers wouldn't be enough to stop them all. They needed all of their forces to stop them. He didn't know if the demons would come. But it wasn't a problem to make preparations in advance. Killing the suppressed demons wasn't the final goal. Being able to stop the demons from outside was the key. If they were scattered, how could they deal with them? They didn't really understand what Tianyun meant. From the start, they thought that Tianyun wanted to rule them completely. But now it sounded like he was fighting against some other force. I know you don't understand. There are some things you can know. I'll explain it to you later. Chapter 748. When Tianyun told them about the situation, they were stunned. They didn't expect such a thing to happen. This was the crisis of the three realms, and no one could be responsible for it. Great Emperor, this should be announced to all the forces in the mortal world. The spirit race patriarch finally recovered from his shock and said. The others nodded and agreed with Tianyun. This was a dangerous situation, and they couldn't handle it alone. How many people do you think will believe us if we announce to them that this place is very dangerous, and we have to join forces to deal with the demonic beasts? Tianyun said indifferently. Everyone was startled. They believe Tianyun's words, to a large extent, because Tianyun is their leader. If it was someone else, the meaning would be different. They might think that it was a bunch of nonsense or an alarmist to deceive everyone. This matter happened so long ago that only a few people knew about it. After 10,000 years, how many people could live for more than 10,000 years? At most, they would record it down so that some people would know about it. But how many powerful forces could exist for more than 10,000 years? The situation of the forces in the mortal world was very fast, mainly because of the restrictions. So many late Spirit King stage experts left the mortal world to find a new place to break through. Without these powerhouses holding down the fort, it would be difficult for the inheritance to continue. It would be easily attacked, and at that time the power would be replaced. The Heaven's Top Mansion was the best example. Originally, there was a Spirit King Xiantian, but after he died, the Heaven's Top Mansion quickly declined. The Heaven Realm and the Ghost Realm were different. As long as they were not killed, they could keep the Divine Kingdom prosperous. In this case, there were very few imperial forces that had any inheritance, and it was impossible for them to know about the demonic beast's attack. There must be a lot of old ancestor-level experts in the Divine Kingdom who knew about it. Even if they didn't see it with their own eyes, they would at least record it down and warn them not to fight against the Fengtian Divine Kingdom. But in the mortal world, if they suddenly said that the demonic beast's attack was coming, they would be treated as fools. Even the strongest empires didn't have this, and they all thought it was very strange. Using this as an excuse to form an alliance was simply treating them as fools. They thought about it for a while, but in the end, they remained silent because they knew that no one would believe it. Well, it's precisely because no one believes it. That's why I gave them so many resources. It's useless to use this as an excuse. Let's form an alliance first, then everything will be easy. Tianyun said indifferently. Everyone nodded. They had a rough idea of what to do. They would just treat it as ordinary diplomacy. As for the demons, they would wait until the time was right. Tianyun, I also want to help, can I? Shi Shuoyan stood up and said. Tianyun looked at her with a smile and said. Tianyun, Tianyan said. You are the empress. There are many things that you need to worry about. Otherwise, why would I bring you back? No problem, Tianyan said. Tianyan. He was better than heaven. No problem. I promise to help you manage all the affairs. Shuiyan smiled and immediately threw herself into the urgent work. The group of people began to make arrangements. There were many empires here, so it would take a lot of work to establish an alliance. However, Tianyan knew that it wouldn't be a big problem. Now that the Heavenly Clouds Empire was famous, it wouldn't be a problem to establish an alliance and sit on the position of alliance leader. The problem was that it would take a little more time. Most of the empires were willing to surrender to them. This was all thanks to his previous efforts. He had flattened so many empires, so who would dare to resist? Resistance meant death. Tianyan didn't worry about their loyalty. He just wanted to establish an alliance so that when an emergency happened, he could call for help. If it hadn't been set up yet, it would have been awkward if no one listened to the message he sent out when there was a crisis. Great Emperor, you are doing this silently, but they don't know that you are doing this for the safety of the entire mortal world. They might be forced to surrender, but they don't know that it's for their own good. Lingyun, who didn't leave, had matured a lot. She still looked ordinary, but she had a firm Dao heart. It's okay. There are too many people who scold me. What they think has nothing to do with me. Tianyan looked at her and said with a faint smile, I just want to be able to unite against the enemy when there is a real crisis. I don't need them to know about this. I just want to reduce casualties when we fight the enemy together. This was his original intention. After all, it would be good for everyone. He didn't want everyone to be grateful to him. He just wanted a group of people to fight against the enemy and greatly reduce casualties, so that the Heavenly Clouds Empire would suffer less. Otherwise, when the time comes, it would be extremely chaotic. If the demons were to wreak havoc here, the losses would be great. If the other forces were destroyed, it would affect the Heavenly Clouds Empire as well. It was always better to fight the enemy together than to fight alone. It's little Jiu's blessing to be able to work for the great emperor. Lingyun half knelt. Her eyes were full of worship and respect. Well, go and do your own things. You must increase your cultivation. I can't protect all of you. Tianyan shook his head. He shuddered when he thought of the memory given to him by the King of the Heavens. If he wanted to survive, he had to keep getting stronger. After that, he quickly flew to Devil Cloud Island, a place where many things had happened in the past. If Little Wu and the others weren't in seclusion, they could be of some help. Tianyan shook his head. Before he came back, he went to see Little Wu, Hirongkuan, and the others. They were all in seclusion, and they wouldn't be able to come back for a while. In that case, he came back alone with Shuiyan. Soon he arrived at Demon Cloud Island. Because the great array here was broken, there was no demon cloud in the sky. It was a very ordinary island. He found that many people had begun to settle here, forming a small island city. Such an amazing change surprised him a little. He didn't expect that in just a few years, there were already many cities here. It seems that after I cleared the demon beasts here and solved the demon cloud here, some people came to live here. But this is indeed a good place to hunt demon beasts. Tianyan could see many cultivators hovering nearby, ready to hunt the demon beasts on the seabed at any time. This way they could sell the demon beasts for money. Chapter 749. Tianyan came to the Devil Cloud Island, glanced at it for a while, then ignored it and plunged into the sea. He was surprised that there was a small city on it, but it didn't matter much. Anyway, it didn't matter if it existed or not. He was here to find the Heaven Ascension Temple. After plunging into the water, he activated the appraisal eye at the same time, shrouding the surrounding, carefully exploring every detail around. When he was investigating, he was really shocked. There were many potholes under the water, and there were even more huge pits. At a glance, it could be seen that they were not formed naturally, but the battle marks formed by a great battle. In addition, he could also see a lot of wreckage buried deep in the ground. From the situation of exploration, it was definitely there for many years, not bones that were swallowed by demon beasts and spat out. However, those swallowed by demon beasts would basically not spit out bones, they would be directly digested. It seems that the Heaven Ascension Temple is nearby. The battle marks are so heavy, it must be the former demon battlefield. Tianyan continued to explore the surroundings, swimming forward quickly. The heaven-creating Divine King built the Heaven Ascension Temple not by randomly choosing a place to build, but by looking at the concentration of spiritual power and the integration of heaven and earth. Of course, the most important point was that the position of the 3 Heaven Ascension Temples was the same. It could be understood that if it could go straight up, then the top of Tianyan's head would be the Heaven Realm's Heaven Ascension Temple. If it went through the ground, then it would be the Underworld's Heaven Ascension Temple. The 3 altars were connected in a line. If one had a problem, it would not affect the other 2 altars, but it would not be able to teleport down. Therefore, it must not be moved at will. Once moved, it was basically equivalent to abolishing the teleportation effect. However, after being moved, the teleportation effect would be abolished, but the effect of fighting would still be there. There must be a reason why the heaven-creating Divine King arranged the Heaven Ascension Temple here. From the battle marks here, it can be seen that it should be near the area where the demon beasts descended, so it was built in 3 places. Only in this way could they support faster, otherwise there was not much point in building a teleportation array. The greatest significance of building a teleportation formation was that it could quickly provide support. It could only attack as support. After all, this god altar couldn't move. Even if its attacks were shocking, it wouldn't be able to display its full effect. I wonder what happened to the Heaven Ascension Divine Altar? Why can't I teleport to it? Tianyan frowned and continued to look around. Is it because of the seawater that the Ascending Heaven Altar lost its effect? After thinking for a moment, he denied his own guess. The Heaven Ascending Divine Altar's grand array was so powerful, it was not something that mere seawater could destroy. However, when the Heaven Ascension Divine Altar was built, there definitely wasn't that much seawater. Something must have happened that led to the formation of this sea. Tianyan kept guessing as he swam downstream. Soon he found an area, a huge pit. It was a very large and deep pit. He roughly estimated that the area was basically the same as the area of Ascending Heaven God Altar. The area of the 3 Heaven Ascending Divine Altars was the same. Whether it was the exterior or the internal structure, it could be said that they were exactly the same. Therefore, when he explored the size of the pit, he immediately knew that this pit was originally the place where the Heaven Ascending Divine Altar was located. But now, the Heaven Ascending Divine Altar was gone. What's going on? The Heaven Ascending Divine Altar is gone. Tianyan was shocked. He didn't expect that such a huge Heaven Ascending Divine Altar would disappear without a trace. What was left here was an incomparably huge and deep pit. Immediately, he swam around in a circle in disbelief. With his amazing speed, he could swim hundreds of miles away in the blink of an eye. Coupled with the area that the appraisal eye could cover, he had explored everything within a radius of a few hundred miles. Other than finding a lot of demonic beasts, there was no trace of the Heaven Ascending Divine Altar. Not to mention a trace, he couldn't even find a brick. What's going on? The Heaven Ascending Divine Altar really disappeared. Tianyan frowned. All the mysteries were solved. No wonder he couldn't teleport to the mortal world. It turned out that the Heaven Ascending Divine Altar had disappeared. It seemed like it had been moved away. He really couldn't understand how there was such a powerful person in the mortal world who could move the heaven-creating Divine King's Heaven Ascending Divine Altar away. If there was such a powerful person, wouldn't he have dominated the entire mortal world long ago? But now there was no movement at all. He had never heard of such a terrifying empire. This is troublesome. No wonder the mission gave me so much experience. And I want to obtain control of the Heaven Ascending Divine Altar. The rewards obtained were linked to the difficulty. The more difficult the mission, the fiercer the reward. Now that the reward was 30 billion experience, it seemed that he only needed to kill 2 or 3 Saint Kings to get it. But that was based on the premise of a terrifying amount of experience cards. Under normal circumstances, killing a Saint King would give him tens of millions of experience, at most hundreds of millions. In other words, it was equivalent to killing almost 300 Saint Kings. This meant that the difficulty was not low. Just thinking about the mission to kill a divine king-level demon, one could imagine how terrifying it was. It seems that I can't find it in the vicinity. I either have to spend a few million to buy soul guidance, or I have to search honestly. Etianyan frowned. He bought soul guidance once, and the price increased by 1 million. He could barely buy it with his current situation. It's not easy to earn a few million crazy points. It's really a waste to spend it like this. Forget it, I'll go up and ask about the situation first. Maybe I can ask something. I'll try my luck. Etianyan can only choose to go up to Devil Cloud Island to ask about it. He didn't want to spend a lot of money to buy it. It's better to keep the crazy points to buy experience cards than to buy these soul guidance. To put it simply, it's just a guide. A guide costs a few million crazy points. It's better to rob. I don't believe it. This time I have plenty of time. I'll take my time to find it. Etianyan quickly swam up and soon swam out of the water. But just after he swam out of the water, a surprised voice came from the side. Hey, look, someone is floating. Hurry up and save him. A boat passed by on the side and happened to see Etianyan emerging from the water. So it swam over here. Etianyan watched them coming over, but he didn't fly up, but waited here obediently. He knew at a glance that this group of people who came to rescue should often hunt demon beasts here. So it's best to ask them. If there is any movement here, if there is any problem, they will definitely know first. Chapter 750. Voila! Etianyan was dragged onto the boat and saw 4 cultivators. Their cultivation level was not high, only at core condensation. The strongest one was the big man who shouted to save them, but his cultivation level was only at first level of spirit core. It seems that he had just broken through not long ago, and just stabilized his cultivation level. The cultivation level of the cultivators here was generally not high. As for Spirit King stage cultivators, it was impossible for them to leave the island. Even Void Spirit stage cultivators were very rare. Void Spirit stage cultivators in the mortal world were considered as Great Emperor stage cultivators, or even General stage cultivators. How could they come to this remote place to hunt demon beasts? In addition to these low cultivation rogue cultivators, there were really no other cultivators here. There were many cultivators in this Devil Cloud Island, not all of them, but at least most of them were rogue cultivators. Their cultivation level was stabilized at core condensation. With this cultivation level, they could stay here and not be afraid of demon beasts. After all, they came here to hunt demon beasts. Demon beasts' materials and cores were precious alchemy materials. It can be said that Etianyan was the overlord here. Of course, in the heavenly realm or the underworld, he was the overlord level existence. As long as there was no divine king, he would not dare to say that he was invincible, but at least he would not be afraid of any holy king. Thank you very much. Etianyan smiled gratefully. He's not trying to be polite, he's really grateful. Under such circumstances, there weren't many people who were so kind-hearted. After all, warm-hearted cultivators were often easily deceived, so that the whole world became cold. Why are you in the water? Did the ship get attacked? Lin Xiang looked up and down at him. This place was still relatively far from Devil Cloud Island. Not to mention flying, in the case of not being able to fly, it was simply courting death. If no ship swam to Devil Cloud Island, it was estimated that by the time they reached there would be no bones left. No, I just swam here, and was rescued by you. Etianyan did not lie, he did swim here, the ship was not attacked. The other two looked at him with suspicious eyes. This place was so remote. How could he swim here? Was he not afraid of death? Boss, why do you save everyone? There's something wrong with this kid. He's actually full of nonsense. Maybe he got into trouble, so he abandoned the ship. I don't believe he can swim over from Devil Cloud Island. Yeah, it's very likely that his companions abandoned him, or he did something shameful. His companion whispered to him. Although the voice was very soft, Etianyan heard it clearly. He couldn't help but smile and didn't say anything. It was normal for them to have such a guess. There were many demonic beasts under the water, and they were densely packed together. If not for his high cultivation, he would have been gnawed to the bone. Their ships were all relatively special. They could avoid the detection of demonic beasts, so they could travel here safely. If it had been an ordinary ship, it would have been broken long ago. When these demonic beasts sensed that someone had intruded into their territory, they would not be polite at all. Lin Xiang waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "There is no need to say anything. Whatever it is, we are preparing to return. Saving a life is always a good thing." "Boss, have you forgotten what happened last time? You saved that kid. Who knew that kid would steal the demonic beasts that we worked so hard to hunt? Damn, if I met him, I would definitely cut him into pieces." This time, the voice was louder, and there was no intention to hide it. It was a warning to Yi Tianyan. Okay, not everyone is like this. Lin Xiang said in a deep voice, "I have been saved before. If it wasn't for someone saving me, I would have died long ago. It's not a bad thing to help others, and it's not like you are always by my side." "Brother, I'm sorry. What my two brothers said was a bit too much. I hope you don't mind," Lin Xiang said embarrassedly. "It's okay, I can understand your feelings." Yi Tianyan smiled indifferently. He had seen this kind of thing many times, so he was not surprised. "Okay, let's go back now. We are just about to go back." Lin Xiang signaled his brothers to start rowing the boat to Devil Cloud Island. Even so, the other two companions looked at this side vigilantly. They were really not at ease. If there was a sudden sneak attack from behind, they would be dead. Of course, Yi Tianyan would not sneak attack. Instead he asked, "Brother, what happened here recently? I just came here not long ago, so I don't know much about the things here." "What happened? What do you want to know?" Lin Xiang said while rowing the boat. "I have been here for a long time. I also participated in the establishment of Devil Cloud City. It can be said that I am the most senior generation here." "So that's how it is." Yi Tianyan's eyes lit up. He didn't expect this old man to be a veteran. It means that he has been here since the founding of the city. "I don't know what happened here. What happened under the water?" "Changes under the water?" Lin Xiang suddenly slapped his thigh and exclaimed, "I remember. It was roughly more than a year ago. Suddenly, there was a surge in the water. We thought that a storm was coming. Who knew that we would see a palace, slowly moving in the water? It was moving towards the north at a moderate speed. We were all shocked. Many people went to see what was going on, but they were all killed by the sea monsters. There were just too many sea demons at that time. They were packed densely, moving the entire palace away. It was just too terrifying. Who would have thought that there was such a big palace under the Devil Cloud Island? At that time, no one dared to go into the water. There were too many demon beasts down there, but they were still far worse than the sea monsters. Those sea monsters were half human and half fish, and could speak human language. They were not as stupid as the demon beasts. Lin Xiang shook his head, and there was a little fear in his eyes. He felt a little scared when he recalled it. Sea monsters. Yi Tianyan's eyes narrowed. He did not expect it to be a group of sea monsters. He had never seen a half-human and half-fish sea monster here. The mortal world was quite vast. He could not go to all places, so he had never seen such a type of sea monster. However, this sea was indeed very vast. He could not see the end. No one knew how vast the area covered by this sea was. Suddenly, he collected key information. That is, the sea monsters moved the palace, but they did not know how. It was very likely that they moved the palace away and made it their own palace. Other than that, is there any movement? Yi Tianyan asked. Chapter 751. A group of sea demons moved away the palace. Looks like I have to carefully search this area. It should be because the area they evacuated to is relatively far away. Yi Tianyan was thinking about how to find the sea demon, but no one knew where it had gone. Especially since the sea was too vast, he needed to search carefully before he could find the palace. Although his cultivation was not bad, it was not to the extent of defying the heavens. Even if it was a divine king, he would need to spend some time to find it. However, when one reached the divine king level, whether it was in terms of speed or range of detection, they were much faster than him. Back then, In order to find the hiding place of the demons, they had really turned the entire 3 realms upside down. Even with their astonishing strength, they had to spend a few months before they were able to search the entire 3 realms from top to bottom, without leaving a single blind spot. They would not let go of any hiding place. Who would have thought that the demons would not be able to hide, but would leave behind their descendants here? This was the most terrifying place. Since they could not break through, they would leave behind their descendants and slowly nibble away at this place. Therefore, it was time to properly investigate the evil spirit race. However, he thought that they should be in the underworld more often. With the evil spirit race's special cold bloodline, the underworld was the best place for them to live. "Brother, is this your first time here?" Lin Xiang asked. Yi Tianyan's question was immediately exposed. It was truly his first time here, otherwise he would not have asked such a question. "More or less. I've been here before, but the changes are a little big." Yi Tianyan did not lie. A long time ago, when he came here to hunt demon beasts, the disappearance of the black clouds was largely related to him. "I thought it was your first time here. The changes are indeed not small, but the most important thing is that the black clouds have disappeared. In the past it was called the Devil Cloud Island, but now, there are no clouds at all. However, because of habit, it is still called the Devil Cloud Island. Even the city built on it is called the Devil Cloud City." Lin Xiang continued to chat at the side. Immediately after, Yi Tianyan roughly asked about the other situations, including the recent situation here. Lin Xiang did not have any doubts and told him the truth. This would save him a lot of time to gather information. And he wouldn't need to go around to gather information. "Big brother, this kid really doesn't know anything. He dares to come here." The companion next to him shook his head. His suspicion of Yi Tianyan was slightly reduced, but there was still some vigilance in his heart. "Kid, let me ask you something. How did you suddenly appear here? Were you thrown into the sea?" His companion couldn't help but ask. "Didn't I just say it? I happened to swim past here, and was then pulled up by Big Brother." Yi Tianyan looked at him indifferently, and was ready to leave. After gathering the information, it was time to leave. There was no need to go to the Demon Cloud City to gather information. "I didn't expect you to lie to us after we saved you. Forget it. Anyway, we will reach the Demon Cloud City soon. Boss is kind, but we are not so kind. When the time comes, we will go our separate ways. Don't think that we will take you in." This brother obviously did not believe half a word of Yi Tianyan. He felt that these words were too fake. "Qianlang." Lin Xiang frowned and shouted in a low voice. He felt that his brother was too much. "Humph." Qianlang coldly snorted, and sat on the side without speaking. "This brother, I am really sorry. They have been deceived before, so they are a little vigilant. Please don't mind them." Lin Xiang shook his head. He had not been calm along the way. "It's okay, but I am about to leave." Yi Tianyan was just about to open his mouth and leave when suddenly the sea in front of him surged up, setting off a large wave, followed by a huge demon beast bouncing up from the water. It was 10 feet tall, like a huge giant, waving its huge palm and fiercely slapped the side of the ship. Bang! After a heavy slap, the ship was sent flying. The cultivators on the ship screamed and fell into the sea one after another. Their cultivation was too low, so they couldn't fly at all, so they could only sink into the sea. There were many demon beasts in the sea, waiting for humans to fall into the water, ready to eat them. "It's the sky water beast." Lin Xiang was shocked. It appeared less than 20 meters away from them, and they would be affected soon. He hurriedly ordered, Quickly row the boat and leave this place." The 3 of them immediately rowed the boat away from the sky water beast like crazy. "Little brother, hurry up and help us row. If we are too slow, we will die." "Damn it, why is the sky water beast here? Normally, it won't appear at this time." Lin Xiang was shocked and angry. The sky water beast's cultivation was not low, it was at the core transformation stage. Although its cultivation was not very high, it was more than enough to deal with people like them. Yi Tianyan looked at the sky water beast, squinted his eyes and said, "Sky water beast, the level of the monster here is not low. It seems that the changes here are quite big. There is such a high-level monster here. Kid, what are you doing? Hurry up and row the boat." Shallow Waves, who was at the side, yelled. He rowed the boat as fast as he could. If he was any slower, he would die. As soon as he finished speaking, the Sky Water Beast noticed them. In this area there were 2 boats, one of them was taken away, so they were the only ones left. Roar! The Sky Water Beast roared, raised its hand and slapped down. The huge palm was very fast, wanting to slap them into the water. It's over, we are dead. Lin Xiang and the others were terrified. The attack was aimed at them, how could they escape? Jump off the boat, quickly. We still have a chance to survive, and try to swim until help comes. Lin Xiang quickly calmed down and signaled everyone to jump into the water quickly. If they were hit by the Sky Water Beast, they would be crippled even if they didn't die. No need to jump into the water, you guys stay here. I will deal with it. Yi Tianyan signaled them to stay here. The 3 of them were stunned. Among them, Qian Lang and the others wondered if he was stupid. How could he deal with the Sky Water Beast alone? As soon as his voice fell, Yi Tianyan flicked his finger, and a sound wave hit the Heavenly Water Beast's body. And then it fell down, sinking into the bottom of the water. At the same time, the sound wave spread in all directions, and the sea seemed to be boiling. After a while, many demon beasts floated up from the bottom of the water. Looking carefully, they found that they were all dead, including the Sky Water Beast, which also floated up from the bottom of the water, making the surrounding cultivators stunned. Inexplicably, the terrifying Sky Water Beast died. Chapter 752. Yi Tianyan casually attacked and killed a large number of demon beasts, including the Heavenly Water Beast. However, they didn't seem to have any scars on their surface. They looked very intact and looked no different from usual. The most important thing was that they were still floating towards them, as if they were being pulled by some kind of force. Lin Xiang and the others were startled. They thought they were still alive, otherwise, why would they come to them? Big brother, in this kind of environment, it's not easy for you to still have a kind heart. This is my reward for you. Take these demon beasts back. Thank you for your answer just now. We will meet again if fate allows it. Yi Tianyan smiled slightly, took a step forward, and disappeared into the northern skyline. Lin Xiang just said that the palace was carried to the north by the sea monsters, so it should be in the northern area. After a while, the cultivators on the side heard Yi Tianyan's words. These demon beasts are the reward for Lin Xiang. Most of the cultivators here knew Lin Xiang, and they all looked at him enviously. This is a strong cultivator. Lin Xiang slowly recovered, but he was still shocked. The cultivation of the Heavenly Water Beast was at least at the 3rd level of core transformation stage, but it was killed by Yi Tianyan with just a flick of his hand. Yi Tianyan just stood there without moving, which meant that his cultivation was much stronger than the Heavenly Water Beast. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so terrifying. This is a core transformation stage powerhouse. Qian Lang stuttered, looking at Lin Xiang with eyes full of shock. More than that, I think his cultivation is even higher, such as Void Spirit stage. It's not that he was ignorant, but he rarely saw cultivators above Void Spirit stage. He didn't know that Yi Tianyan's cultivation was at the Saint King stage. If he knew that Yi Tianyan was the Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, he would be even more scared. Void Spirit stage. Both of them were shocked, but then cold sweat broke out on their backs. I suspected that he was lying. Did he really swim here, or was he looking for something on the seabed and just happened to come up and let us see him? Qian Lang's back was soaked in cold sweat. Thinking of his disrespect just now, it was fortunate that he was not slapped to death. This kind of thing was really not rare. No one would feel wronged if they offended the dignity of a powerhouse and were killed. That should be correct. However, don't worry. If you were angered, you would already be dead. You wouldn't be here. Lin Xiang shook his head and sighed. He has always been telling the truth. It's just that we are too inexperienced and mistakenly thought that he was lying. Have you learned your lesson this time? They nodded repeatedly to show that they understood. This was too terrifying. After experiencing this kind of thing, they had to learn to see things clearly. I really didn't expect that they would give us such a big gift. This time, we've struck it rich. Hurry up and put these corpses into our spatial rings. The corpses aren't damaged. We can sell them for a high price. Lin Xiang and the rest smiled knowingly. It was good to meet a benefactor. It was a pity that they couldn't make friends with him. Otherwise it would be better. There was no point in regretting. He could only say that he would learn to be more obedient in the future. At the same time, Yi Tianyan had already flown to the north at an extremely fast speed. Along the way, he explored the depths of the seabed, covering a radius of 50 miles. He didn't miss a single detail. After knowing that it was the north, he could only explore a lot less areas. Hence, information was especially important. If he still couldn't find it, he could only spend a lot of money to buy soul guidance. Although it was very painful, since he couldn't find it, he could only choose to do so. After flying continuously for a day, he still couldn't find any traces of it. This made him very puzzled. One had to know that with his speed, flying for a day was at least a few 100,000 miles. Yet there wasn't a single trace of it. How could such a huge palace be moved so far? That's strange. Where is it? Yi Tianyan frowned and immediately took out a weapon. At the same time he activated his luck aura. His luck immediately went through the roof. Come on, please point out a clear path for me to take a look. This method of finding the way wasn't unheard of. It completely relied on luck to point the way. Although the direction pointed was correct, the detailed information obtained was less. Hence, it wasn't usually used this way. Immediately after, he threw out his weapon. After spinning in the air, it landed steadily on the surface of the water in front of him. The direction pointed was still north. There was no change in the direction, which proved that the path was still correct. Looks like I still have to continue on my way. Yi Tianyan shook his head. He could only continue flying. Just as he was about to deactivate his luck aura, a figure suddenly rushed out of the water with a splash and landed directly on him. With his sharp eyes and quick hands, he immediately grabbed it. It felt extremely smooth and even a little soft. When he focused his eyes, he realized that it wasn't an object that had pounced into his arms, but a beautiful young girl. However, this beautiful young girl was half human and half fish. Her blue fishtail was more than a meter long, and she had blue scales all over her body. She looked very beautiful, especially her beautiful blue eyes, which were full of attraction. At first glance, the most attractive thing about her was her pair of eyes. Then he saw the rest of her appearance. Blue hair, blue eyes and blue fishtail. However, the clothes on her body were tightly wrapped, revealing no skin at all. Sea demon. Yi Tianyan was startled. He didn't expect that the luck aura didn't help him at all. Instead, it was the sea demon that came to him. With this sea demon, wouldn't asking for directions be the simplest and most violent way? Ah, human. The mermaid wriggled her body, trying to break free from his embrace. Immediately, a huge demonic beast rushed out of the water, opened its huge mouth, and swallowed them. No wonder this mermaid jumped in this direction. It turned out that there was a demonic beast that wanted to eat her. Get lost. Yi Tianyan stretched out his hand and flicked his finger. This demonic beast that was at the spirit core stage was killed by him, leaving a corpse floating on the water. Seeing this, the mermaid was immediately shocked. She forgot that she was still lying in the arms of a human. Dead. The mermaid looked at the demonic beast that had been chasing her for a long time. She couldn't get rid of it no matter how hard she tried. She was killed just like that. Immediately, she turned her head, and when she saw the smile on Yi Tianyan's face, she felt a chill in her heart. Because this smile was as if he was staring at his prey. It was even more terrifying than the demonic beast. I saved you. Shouldn't you repay me? Yi Tianyan looked her up and down and smiled. The mermaid hugged her chest and hurriedly said, You human, don't even think about it. Chapter 753. He had to admit that the mermaid before him was indeed very attractive. Her looks were definitely of the highest quality. However, her fishtail did not arouse his interest at all. Most importantly, he already had Shi Shuiyun, so he would not have any thoughts about her. Shi Shuiyun was even prettier than her, and more importantly, he had feelings for her. That was more important than anything else. You're thinking too much. Yi Tianyan threw her to the side, and let her float in the water. he said in a low voice. Do you think I'm that kind of person? You humans are all like this. You capture us mermaids, play with us, and buy and sell us as you please. The mermaid looked at him warily and said, Grandma told me not to trust humans. But now that I've saved you, is it not reasonable for me to make a request? Didn't your grandma tell you that a mermaid needs to be grateful? Etienne said casually. This has happened before. The young mermaid frowned, but still nodded her head. Etienne looked at her and almost laughed. He had just said it casually, but it was really true. This girl looked so innocent, and she even said that her grandma taught her. It's good that you know. Moreover, I won't harm you. All right, I won't talk to you anymore. I won't capture you. I just need you to tell me something, and we'll call it even, Etienne said. Really? The mermaid was pleasantly surprised. If that was really the case, she could easily leave. Do you think I'd lie to you? Etienne smiled slightly. You don't look like a bad person. Those bad people grabbed my sisters and took them away without saying much to me. The mermaid tilted her head and thought about it seriously. Etienne was instantly amused. What she said was true. Such a beautiful person would definitely have a good market there. Usually rich families would take them as slaves. They looked beautiful and special, so they could play with them. However, he had no interest in that. She was beautiful, but there was no point in doing that. All right, what do you want to ask? I'll tell you. The mermaid thought about it seriously and nodded. Very well, you just need to tell me where the sirens moved the huge palace. Do you know? Etienne asked. The sirens moved the huge palace. The mermaid thought for a while and then exclaimed. You mean the scarlet monsters? They are very cruel. Even we have to avoid them. If we get close, we will be captured. You're not thinking of finding the scarlet monsters, are you? Smart, you're right. Etienne's eyes lit up. He immediately collected detailed information. It seems that they are not of the same race. There were thousands of races. Not to mention those in the sea, there were also many races on land. But relatively speaking, the human race was the majority, so other races were relatively rare. Besides, it wasn't a big deal even if they met. Now that they were coexisting together, as long as there wasn't any conflict, there wouldn't be any problems. But it's very dangerous there. Don't go. They have a sea demon king who is very powerful. He often captures the surrounding races and humans. I don't know what he's doing. Anyone who gets close to his territory will be captured. The mermaid was concerned for him. Etienne rubbed his chin and smiled. It's okay. I'm going to find them. Didn't they move the palace? Do you know how they moved it? I'm not sure. I heard that a group of scarlet monsters moved it bit by bit. I don't know the details. Anyone who gets close will be killed. We don't know how they moved it, the mermaid answered honestly. Etienne nodded thoughtfully. It seemed that they did not know. From this, it could be seen that the scarlet monsters were very arrogant and powerful. It seemed that they were the overlords of this sea. No one dared to go against them. Do you know where they live? Etienne asked. Do you really want to go? It's too dangerous there. I advise you not to go. Although your cultivation is not bad, if you get close to them, you will definitely die. The mermaid did not forget to advise him. You don't have to worry about that. I want to go to the scarlet monster race to retrieve something. You just need to point the way, and I'll forget about saving you. Etienne waved his hand. This girl was very kind. However, it was impossible for him not to go. No, if you die, I won't be repaying the favor. I'll be harming you. The mermaid was determined not to tell him. Etienne was so angry that he was about to cry. Fortunately, this girl met him. If she met someone else, she would probably be helping them count the money. I'm definitely going. The scarlet monster race has a grudge against me. I'm going to take revenge. Are you going to stop me? Etienne felt very helpless. If she still could not get an answer, he would use the eyes of enchantment to make her say it. You have a grudge against the scarlet monster race? The mermaid was puzzled. And you can say that. They took away my things, so it can be said that they have a grudge against me. Etienne had never seen the scarlet monster race before. However, they took away the ascension altar, which meant that they had a grudge against him. Moreover, it was a huge grudge. This was something that could repel demons. Of course, it could not be taken away so easily. The mermaid was silent for a while. Then she said, "All right, if you really want to go, I will also go with you." "And you want to go too? Didn't you say that it's very dangerous?" Etienne was puzzled. "Yes, but they also have a grudge against me. They killed my parents." The mermaid's eyes reddened. She gritted her teeth and said, "They also captured many of my sisters. I can't wait to kill them all." "I see. Then hurry up and bring me there. I will help you take revenge." Etienne smiled. The mermaid's beautiful eyes were firm. Then she nodded and said, "Then come with me. I will bring you to our place. I will bring some things with me and then bring you there. Without me bringing you there, you will definitely not be able to reach the Scarlet Monster Race's place easily." "All right, bring me there," Etienne said. The mermaid nodded and dived into the water. Etienne followed her. As soon as he dived into the water, the mermaid blew a bubble over his head. "This will allow you to breathe. I know that you humans are unable to breathe underwater." The mermaid stretched out her hand and said, "Hold my hand. In the water, your speed will be very slow. You will not be able to compare to our mermaid race." Etienne felt the bubble covering his head. He smiled. He had to admit that this little girl was really considerate. Although it was true that one could not breathe underwater, that was only limited to those with low cultivation. For him, living here was not a problem. Chapter 754. What's wrong? The mermaid looked at Etienne. She felt that it was strange that Etienne kept looking at her. "Nothing, I just think you're quite funny. Are all the mermaids like this?" Etienne had never seen the mermaids before, so he didn't know about their situation. "Yes, all the mermaids are like this. Many of us are very nice, and we often help each other." The mermaid smiled, like a beautiful crabapple blooming. It was extremely beautiful, especially in this dark blue sea. Her dark blue hair floated slightly, as if she had blended into the entire sea. She was indeed the darling of the sea. She could easily blend into the water attribute environment, and even control the water spiritual energy at will. "Then I'll have to trouble you to lead the way." Etienne smiled. "But don't worry, I won't lose you. No matter how fast you are, I'll be able to catch up." "Really? I don't believe it. In the water, your speed is much slower than ours." The mermaid pouted, not convinced by Etienne's words. "What if I catch up?" Looking at her, Etienne had a feeling that he wanted to play with her. The kinder and more competitive she was, the more he wanted to play with her. "If you catch up, I'll treat you to something delicious." The mermaid's beautiful eyes were full of confidence, as if she was saying that Etienne would never catch up with her. "Delicious? You said it yourself. Then you set the rules. How far away do I have to go before I lose?" Etienne asked. 10 feet. As long as the distance is more than 10 feet, you lose. How about that? The mermaid's beautiful eyes flickered, and she began to get excited. 10 feet? No, that's too far. I thought it was 10 feet. You're looking down on me. Let's make it 10 feet. As long as the distance is more than 10 feet, I lose. How about that? Etienne smiled. 10 feet was more than 30 meters. If he was thrown more than 30 meters, how could he still be a sage king? He might as well kill himself with a piece of tofu. A distance of 3 meters was already considered far. At the very least, it was flying close to the body. You're really competitive. I've always heard that humans are very competitive. You really are. Fine, I'll let you taste the bitterness. The young mermaid's eyes flickered with intelligence. She smiled and said, I hope you can keep up. Let's go. As soon as she finished speaking, the young mermaid immediately turned into a sharp arrow and shot forward at an extremely fast speed. The surrounding water did not pose any resistance to her at all, and she passed through it easily. If it were other cultivators, it would be much more difficult to swim in the water. In the blink of an eye, the mermaid had swum 1,000 feet away. No wonder she was so confident. Her cultivation level is not high. She is only at 4th or 5th level of core condensation. but her swimming speed is much faster than the other cultivators of the same level. At the very least, he was several times faster than Zhang Xian. If the difference in cultivation was too great, it would be impossible for him to catch up. This did not seem to be her maximum speed. One must know that when she was escaping earlier, her speed was much faster than this. Obviously, she was deliberately holding back. She wanted Yi Tianyan to keep up a little bit and not be left behind too much. I'll use a medium speed first. Otherwise, I won't be able to see that person if I'm too far away. The young mermaid thought in her heart. After swimming for a few hundred feet, she turned her head and immediately saw Yi Tianyan's handsome face, less than half a meter behind her. She was so scared that she suddenly increased her speed and rushed forward. You're so fast? She did not use her full strength. She thought that she would be able to shake off a small distance, but who knew that he would be right behind her? Didn't I say that if I can't catch up to you, I will lose? I can't exceed this distance. Yi Tianyan smiled and said, Can you go faster? Don't you want to get rid of me? Hurry up. That's what you said. If you can't find me, remember to wait for me here. I will come back to find you. The young mermaid bit her lips. Immediately, her blue eyes flashed with a strong desire to win. Soon after, she turned her head and immediately increased her speed to nearly 5 times her previous speed as she rushed forward. In the blink of an eye, she had already rushed forward thousands of feet. This speed was so fast that even a core transformation stage cultivator could not keep up with her. No wonder she was so confident. If she used her full strength, ordinary core transformation stage cultivators would not be able to keep up. It was basically impossible for ordinary human cultivators to catch them, unless they had a higher cultivation or used special methods to hunt them. This time, she did not look back. Instead, she crazily shuttled forward. The seabed was not flat, but there were many rocks and huge corals that could be used as natural barriers. She rushed all the way to a very long distance in one breath. Even she did not know how far she had swum. She only felt that this was the limit of her escape. Because of her desire to win, she carelessly used all her strength. It's over. I swam too fast. I don't know where he is. The young mermaid was just about to turn her head to look at the situation when she heard Yi Tianyan's voice. Your speed is not bad, but it's not good enough. Ah. The young mermaid was so scared that she leaned against the corals and looked at Yi Tianyan in horror. She stammered. How can you keep up with me? I am at the limit of my speed. Even the strongest human cultivators might not be able to keep up with me. You are talking about ordinary cultivators. I am not an ordinary cultivator. Yi Tianyan smiled. It was not bad to play with her occasionally. It was the same as taking a break. Anyway, they were going to swim all the way. All right, I've lost. The young mermaid showed a depressed expression. She did not expect Yi Tianyan to be so fast. You admit defeat? Are we not going to continue? Isn't the finish line your house? It will be the end when we reach your house. Yi Tianyan smiled. No more. I have used all my strength, and you can keep up. What's the point of competing? The young mermaid pouted. She then wagged her tail and said, Let's go this way. We will reach my house soon. Yi Tianyan smiled. Since she was not going to compete, he would hurry back to her house. After settling his business, he would hurry to the Scarlet Goblin tribe. Along the way, they chatted casually. He learned that the young mermaid's real name was Lan Qingling, and she lived in this part of the sea. However, due to the situation of the Scarlet Goblin tribe, they often changed their residence. Otherwise, they would be captured. Chapter 755. My house is in front. Stay here for the time being. Remember to hide and not let our clansmen see you. Otherwise, they will definitely attack you. Lan Qingling reminded him, indicating that he should not run around, otherwise, it would cause a lot of trouble. This was for sure. When Lan Qingling first saw him, she was filled with hostility, let alone other clans. Lan Qingling's attitude was considered good. It should be said that if he had not saved Lan Qingling, she would have already turned around and run. Why would she even talk to him? And no problem. As long as I hide, No one will be able to find me. Tianyan was not bragging. With his strong cultivation, unless there was an opponent stronger than him, it would be really difficult to find him. Alright, I'll go back first. I'll come back after I get something. Lan Qingling nodded at him and quickly swam forward. After passing through several places, the place she dived into was the huge sea whale in front of them. She entered through the breathing hole at the top of the sea whale. She did not expect that the place where the merfolk lived was a symbiotic relationship with the sea whale. However, this was not unexpected. The sea whale was huge, but its combat power was relatively limited. It was just a huge meat shield. Therefore, in the case of insufficient combat power, it was much more difficult to resist the hunting of other monsters. For this reason, the sea whale had to rely on the symbiotic relationship of other clans in order to play a supporting role. The merfolk were the main attacking force, and the sea whale provided shelter and defense. It was that simple. Especially the sea whale, it was indeed huge. It was hundreds of feet long, enough to accommodate thousands of people. In the case of the Scarlet Demon clan hunting, it was quite easy to hide. This place was relatively remote, surrounded by mountains, and there was a lot of seaweed floating around, acting as a barrier. The depth of the water here was astonishing. It could be said to be very deep. With his appraisal eye, if he did not continue to go deeper, he would not be able to find this place. Merfolk, huh? Interesting. Tianyan observed the situation around. There were strong merfolk patrolling the side with weapons. They were very vigilant. When Lan Qingling went over, they all nodded and bowed to her. It seemed that their status was very high. However, they did not speak. He did not know what their title was, but it seemed that their status was definitely not low. After a while, there was nothing left to see. It was just like that. Apart from the mermaids, there was also a huge whale. This whale's cultivation level was not low. It was at the peak of core transformation stage. It could be regarded as a strong meat shield. According to his judgment, without the cultivation of void spirit stage, it would be difficult to injure this sea whale. The defense was simply too thick. Ordinary attacks would not be able to penetrate it. I wonder what they are taking so long. Tianyan lay on the water plants. He felt that he had been waiting for a long time. He had been here for 2 hours. This was no longer taking things. They were probably discussing something inside. He could only continue to wait here for a while. The place where the merfolk lived was already so hidden. He believed that the Scarlet Demon clan's place was even more hidden. Without Lan Qingling leading the way, he was afraid that he would not be able to reach it. While he continued to wait here, suddenly there was a little movement in front of him. Many mermaids drilled into the body of the sea whale. And then the sea whale began to swim. From the looks of it, it was obvious that they were preparing to leave this place. Perhaps they were preparing for something to happen. What's going on? Did they find something? Half an hour ago, he saw a mermaid swimming in this direction. After drilled into the body, half an hour later, it began to leave. Obviously, it had found something and was now preparing to move to another place. But if that was the case, how could Lan Qingling lead the way? Just when he was about to search inside the sea whale, Lan Qingling swam out of the sea whale and swam towards him. Tianyan immediately showed himself so that she would not see him. Big brother Big brother she shouted nearby. What's the situation? Tianyan appeared in front of her and asked. Great, hurry up and come with me. The Scarlet Demon clan is chasing us. We need to retreat quickly. Before she finished speaking, she grabbed Tianyan's hand and swam towards the sea whale. In the blink of an eye, she arrived above the sea whale and swam towards the entrance. Wait, aren't you worried that I will be seen by the people of the Scarlet Demon clan? If you take me to hide in there, won't we be discovered? Tianyan was puzzled. If I don't take you with me, you will definitely be discovered by the Scarlet Demon clan. At that time, you will die here. Lan Qingling quickly brought him into the passage. Soon he entered a space. There was not a single drop of water in it. It was completely emptied. Just as he was brought in, a respectful voice came from the front. Princess, where have you been? In a while the Scarlet Demon clan will be here. You still want to go out now? Human? The guards in front immediately became vigilant. One after another, They raised the weapons in their hands and pointed in this direction. Their eyes were full of vigilance. Tianyan looked up and saw that all the people here were guards. The man with the highest cultivation was in front of him. He had reached the 5th level of core transformation stage. Looking at the situation of the surrounding guards, he should be at the level of elder. But there was one thing that was not wrong. Lan Qingling was really at the level of a princess. Whether it was her beauty or talent, they were all first class, so it was not surprising that she was a princess. Grandpa Bo, don't worry, he is not a bad person, he saved me. Lan Qingling stood in front of Tianyan, signaling them not to be nervous. Saved you? Grandpa Bo looked at her doubtfully, and then immediately said anxiously, no matter whether he saved you or not, come here first. Lan Qingling believed in Tianyan, but it did not mean that they believed in Tianyan. In the situation of different races, it was really impossible to trust each other. Especially when it was the first time they met. How could they trust each other? No, I have to make it clear, lest you think he is a bad person. Immediately, Lan Qingling explained the general situation clearly, including the situation of Tianyan going to the Scarlet Demon Clan's territory. So that's what happened. Don't worry, since he saved the princess, it is equivalent to the Mermaid Clan being indebted to him. We will not hurt him. Although Grandpa Bo said so, he did not lower his vigilance. It was not easy to lower their vigilance, unless they continued to understand more. Moreover, they all knew Lan Qingling's character. She was too kind, she might be deceived. Okay, big brother let's go. Lan Qingling smiled and led him forward. Chapter 756. Friend, thank you for saving the princess. Please forgive me for my rudeness just now. Elder Bo sized up Tianyan, trying to figure out something from him. Unfortunately, he couldn't see anything, not even his cultivation. Tianyan's cultivation was so much higher than his. It would be a miracle if he could see anything. It's fine. I just don't know why you went out alone when it's so dangerous outside. I forgot to ask. As a princess, you went out alone. Tianyan shook his head. He didn't even ask why Lan Qingling would go out alone and get chased by a powerful monster. I'll go look for the water jade grass to treat Grandma's injuries. Lan Qingling had just said that when Elder Bo glared at her. It's our fault. If not for you, we would be in big trouble. Elder Bo glared at Lan Qingling and said, the situation is even more urgent now. The Scarlet Demon race is chasing us. If they catch up, we'll be in trouble. At this time, Tianyan could already feel the whale swimming deep into the sea at a shocking speed. He didn't know where it was going to hide. Tianyan narrowed his eyes at Elder Bo. He interrupted so quickly to change the topic, so that he didn't know about Lan Qingling's grandma's injuries. Since Lan Qingling was a princess, then her grandma should be the Mermaid King, an existence that ruled over this place. The Mermaid King definitely wouldn't say that she was injured. If the strongest person was injured, there would definitely be a loophole. To put it bluntly, Elder Bo was afraid that Tianyan would spread the news. If the mermaid race was attacked, it would be troublesome. Lan Qingling didn't think too much about it. She revealed a depressed expression. I just wanted to do something to help Grandma. Grandma is injured. If she doesn't get better soon, it'll be troublesome. Her eyes were red and she looked very sad. Elder Bo was extremely embarrassed. This princess of his was too innocent. He had already changed the topic, but Lan Qingling still changed it back. Seeing this, Tianyan could not help but smile. It wasn't that Lan Qingling was too naive. Rather, it was because her impression of him had reached 150 points. This meant that she had a lot of trust in him. She didn't trust him at first, but she slowly started to trust him. However, it was not wrong that she was naive. She trusted others easily. Your grandma is injured? Tianyan looked at her and asked. He had already heard it earlier, and now that Elder Bo couldn't avoid it even if he wanted to, he could only let her speak. Yes, they're all from the Scarlet Fiend clan. If it weren't for them, Grandma wouldn't have been injured. Now that he was injured and resting, he needed the water jade grass to heal his injuries. But I searched outside for a long time and still couldn't find the water jade grass. Lan Qingling sighed. Even now we still haven't found the water jade grass, and the scarlet demon tribe is attacking. So the reason she went out alone was to find the water jade grass. The water jade grass was a 4th grade spirit medicine, and it wasn't that easy to find. It could be considered as a unique spirit medicine that grew in the water. After this friend leaves, please don't tell anyone about this. I'm afraid of attracting unnecessary trouble. Elder Bo sighed and could only tell the truth. Rest assured, Elder Bo, I won't tell anyone about this. Yi Tianyan found it funny. It must have been tough on them. It's good as long as you don't tell anyone. Elder Bo nodded his head, feeling a little more convinced in his heart. Now that you're hiding from the Scarlet Demon tribe, you should be able to escape easily. Once everything stabilizes, you should leave. I believe you know the situation here. It's dangerous to continue staying here. Elder Bo had the intention of chasing them away, but he was also trying to persuade them. They really weren't that safe. Don't worry about that. Actually, you guys don't have to run. I can still deal with the Scarlet Demon tribe. Yi Tianyan said calmly. This, Elder Bo and the rest froze up. This tone was really arrogant. Even they couldn't deal with them. And this brat who popped out of nowhere said that he could? Princess, is this human you brought back a scammer? Why is he spouting nonsense after just arriving here? At this moment, a young man stood out and stood between him and Lan Qingling, looking at him with a vigilant face. Yi Tianyan looked at the young man who had walked out. From the moment he came in, he had been staring at him with malicious intent. Even though he knew that he had saved Lan Qingling, he still chose not to believe him. Little fatty Hai, what are you doing? Lan Qingling frowned and said, Big brother Yi is not a scammer. He really saved me and helped me kill that dragon sea beast. If not for Big brother Yi, I might have been injured. She stood in front of Yi Tianyan again, blocking little fatty Hai from speaking. However, this name was a little interesting. This little fatty Hai wasn't fat at all. He looked rather skinny and weak, but he was called Little Fatty. Who knew how he was fat? So what if he defeated the sea dragon sea beast? But he said that he could deal with the Scarlet Demon tribe. Isn't that full of nonsense? Even the Empress couldn't deal with them, but he said that he could. What a boast. Little Fatty Hai stared at Yi Tianyan and said, You humans always like to boast, wanting to show off your strength. Who knew that when you meet with danger, you would escape faster than anyone else? This guy was going tit for tat right from the start, and his words were quite fierce. But if one listened carefully, it was indeed true. There were a lot of boasting on their side, but Yi Tianyan wouldn't. Do you like the princess? Yi Tianyan didn't get angry and asked instead. Everyone thought that Yi Tianyan would retort, but who knew that he would say something like this? Little Fatty Hai was immediately dumbfounded and his face turned red. Obviously, he had been seen through, and he looked like he was about to explode. You are talking nonsense. I didn't. Little Fatty Hai took 2 steps back and glanced at Lan Qingling, stuttering. Even Elder Bo and the others could see through his actions. Lan Qingling said innocently, Little Fatty Hai, do you like me? But I don't like you. Kaboom. Like a bolt from the blue, Little Fatty Hai's face turned pale. Such a simple and crude rejection. Without even thinking for half a second, Yi Tianyan almost spat out his saliva. You like me, but I don't like you. These words were quite impactful, and she said it in front of so many people. One could not help but say that Lan Qingling had a screw loose in her head. I'm leaving. Little Fatty Hai turned his head and ran away, covering his face. He didn't dare to stay here any longer. Cough cough, Princess Lan, that's quite a blow to my confidence. Yi Tianyan said. Blow to my confidence? How so? Lan Qingling blinked her innocent eyes, causing many people to smile bitterly. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.